Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Happy hump day to you, my little buddy.
Crudy, happy hump day, my friend. Rolling up on Brady Street in Milwaukee. Always good to see you, man.
Even unexpected for me.
Yeah, man.
I had lots of business meetings earlier today in the Madison area. Came down for one, missed it.
Well, at least you tried.
But at least I made the show. Excited to be here, Dom, in light of the fact that Donald Trump crashed the economy overnight. Oh. So as I am reading the Chiron currently on the TV screen, the Dow Industrial average down 800.49, a little under 25,500. And a lot of people are hearing my voice and going, so what? You know, unless you're heavily invested in the stock market, like Salvia.
Oh, yeah, real heavy in the market, let me tell you. Hang on. Sell, sell, sell. Okay, we're good.
You know, I literally sold what little stock portfolio I had. It was under 50 grand, but I sold out when Trump was elected. I mean, I would have done okay in the markets on the climb up, but now they're coming back down again.
You and everybody. It's all great on the climb up, but going down, correction maybe in the future. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
No, but I didn't have to sell out, 30% ago. I could have sold out now, today, like a lot of investors are going to do. Dom, you've got the MBA. You're the smart one.
What?
Financially speaking, of course. So here's the question. What the hell is an inverted yield curve?
Crudy, that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked. So I went to CBSNews.com, and they got it all written out for us, and we'll talk about it, and maybe we'll have some real-life examples. It's actually very simple.
Please edify me.
A bond yield is the return an investor gets on a government or corporate bond, and typically, Crudy, investors demand higher yields from longer-term bonds to compensate them for the higher risk of tying up their money for a longer period of time.
So let me see if I got this straight. If I bought like a 30-year bond, well, I would expect a higher return.
A higher yield. Correct.
On that bond when I bought that bond. So bonds are really safe and steady kind of investments. That's where the safe money plays. Am I right about this?
Yes. When yields on some shorter-term bonds rise above those on the longer-term bonds, as is currently the case right now, it has historically signaled a pending recession. So the yields on the shorter-term bonds are now higher than the longer-term bonds.
Like a 1-year bond, 12 months, could have a higher yield, and it's not theoretical. It's happening, apparently.
I think specifically we're looking at 2 years and 10 years. So
have flipped.
Has flipped, yes.
Meaning you get paid a higher yield, more profit on what's supposed to be your very safe investment on a 2-year than you would on a 10-year. So I'm very confused. Why is that Donald Trump's fault?
That's because the demand for those longer term bonds are going up. And why is the demand for those longer term bonds going up? Because it's relative safety compared to staying in the volatile stock market right now.
Now, I know you've claimed to have an MBA. Where's the diploma?
I got it hanging up in my office. Trust me on this one.
Didn't you tell me you had 2?
I got 2. They spelled my name wrong on the first one, so I've technically got 2 MBAs.
2 L's in the first name?
That one I guess a lot of people get that one wrong.
Dom, you don't use that first name a lot.
Only in court.
How about today? Let me throw a little piece out there. Jennifer Rubin at the Washington Post. Trump roils the markets again. The Post reports U.S. stocks plummeted Wednesday after the inverted yield curve, one of the most reliable indicators of a recession, sparked a new wave of investor fears, erasing a short-lived bump from Tuesday's trade easing. That means for the first time in 12 years, short-term rates on the U.S. bonds are higher than long-term bond rates. Oh, we didn't need your explanation at all, Dom. It was a sign investors are fleeing to the safety of the bond market. With high demand for those bonds, the rates drop. The phenomenon would suggest investors' faith in the economy is faltering, has preceded every recession in the past 50 years. It isn't a sure thing, but it's one of the most reliable signs that something is amiss in the economy. Even after President Trump pulled back on his threat to impose new tariffs on China on a range of consumer products, the market's still falling. She writes in parentheticals, Rubin writes, the warning sign dealt another blow to markets in a time of year that is already notoriously tough on stocks. By late morning, the Dow Jones Industrial had fallen more than 600, ended down more than 800, as noted, Dom. This doesn't mean there will definitely be a recession, and if there is, we don't know when it will hit and how severe it will be. However, several things are clear, Dom. I've got a countdown here. You with me on this?
Let's do it.
You want to go first or second?
You go.
Number one, according to Jennifer Rubin. First, a downturn in the economy before the election will very likely shatter Trump's hopes for re-election. That'd be a sad thing, Dom. Presidents in economic downturns generally don't get reelected. And if the president already is widely disliked and has no other notable accomplishments, I'd say check. An economic decline may be an insurmountable problem for the incumbent.
Second, Crudy, it will be very hard for Trump to avoid blame for the downturn given the immediate cause of economic volatility is his misguided trade war. Like many economists at Wall Street firms, Michael Strain at the American Enterprise Institute writes, businesses' paralyzing uncertainty is driven by the president's veering from one position to another. Businesses seem increasingly convinced that he doesn't understand the basics of international economics. Well, Michael Strain, I would concur. He goes on to explain, Trump bemoans the relative strength of the dollar one day, declaring China a currency manipulator, and the next he praises dollar strengthening inflows of foreign investment. With such a tenuous grasp on the facts of the situation, how can he make predictable policy? ? How can a business anticipate what he'll do? ? Jennifer Rubin writes, moreover, despite spin by embarrassed free traders such as Larry Kudlow, it sure doesn't seem that Trump is simply using tariffs to get a good free trade deal. Quote, there's growing acceptance that the president really is a protectionist to his core, Strain observes. You got the third one, Crudy?
Third, if a recession does hit, we are in a terrible position to cushion the blow. Economist Jared Bernstein explains, the most important thing you need an administration and Congress to do in a downturn is to quickly offset the demand contraction with fiscal stimulus. That means that strengthening the safety net, which Trump has consistently tried to weaken, it means state fiscal relief, including to big blue states. He continues, it means infrastructure, something they've never been able to pull off. And don't forget, we'll be entering the next recession with a debt to GDP ratio that's twice the historical average. As to the latter, we are already looking at a deficit soon to hit $1 trillion. There's only so much debt we can take on without driving up rates. The other tools to soften a recession is monetary policy. Once again, however, Trump has depleted our stock of tools to prop up the economy. Thanks to the badgering from Trump, the Federal Reserve just cut interest rates. Although Trump whined it wasn't enough, at a time unemployment is at 3.7%, and interest rates are already historically low. When we really need that economic juice in a year or two, the Fed won't have that much room to maneuver. In sum, Trump claimed the economy he inherited as his own. He rationalized tax cuts on the notion he'd boost the growth above 3%. Now we're here on recession watch. He told us that the trade war would be quick and good for the economy. It's now stymieing business investment decisions. So yes, if a recession hits, Trump will richly deserve the credit. I mean, the blame, Dom. Trump has crashed the economy.
The market off 3% today. The Dow Jones, at least, is down over 3% today. The 2-year Treasury note right now, Crudy, you know this conversation we're having about the yield curve?
Inverted yield curve.
You know what the 2-year Treasury is paying out as a yield?
0.1?
1.579. So under 1.6% you would get if you bought that Treasury as a yield on that bond. And today the market dropped by 3%. So if you hang on to that, you know, for an extra, you might get that money back in a year and a half. This isn't good. It's bad.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
I'm not even clear that you are a college graduate.
I got the degree, I swear.
Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. Want to hear from you. Dom's got the control panel, kind of like the remote in college, but you can dial us up. He'll get you on eventually. 844-967-2789. Trump has crashed the economy. Happy Wednesday.
Nobody knows more about trade than me.
Voodoo economics.
Nobody knows the system better than me, which is why I alone can fix it.
Did it work? Anyone? Anyone know the effects? It did not work.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
We the people, the hardworking 99% of men and women, only have a voice when we join together as one and amplify our message. Now is the time for all Wisconsinites to join We the People and raise our voices. Do you feel like you are wasting your money funding unaccountable consultants, unresponsive candidates, and their campaigns? Help us do something that really matters. Please join We the People. Give what you can so we can support progressive radio stations like this one, using the public airwaves to educate Wisconsin about what we the people want for our state and remind Wisconsin's politicians that they work for us. Your donations to We the People at p4ppc.org, a registered, compliant IRS 501c3, will always be tax deductible, will always remain anonymous, and We the People pledge to spend 100% of donations educating Wisconsin on the issues our donors want discussed, giving individuals a voice in the collective message of We the People. Please give today at p4ppc.org. That's p4ppc.org. We the people need you. Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
The big and tall of political talk. Dom and Krut are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. We're on Twitter at Devil Radio, and we can take your calls. 844-967-2789.
I was just trying to do the math in my head.
Yeah?
You know, I'm so good at doing math on the radio. Wondered what show this might be for us. Like how many shows we've done. Because here I've driven down to Milwaukee for like the 932nd consecutive time.
Seems like it, right?
And you'll be coming to Madison on Friday. You'll be joining me in the Broadcast Bunker 2.0. But here I am in the fishbowl. How many shows do you think we've done?
Oh,
you don't know.
I have no idea.
I'm going to say about 250 a year. But those first couple years we did less. Because we started as a Saturday show. But I guess by year number 2, whether we did 1
hour
to 3 hours.
We're still doing it every day.
Same number of days,
yeah,
right?
Right.
So I'll take 1 year off. I bet we're up to like 1,500 plus shows.
Wow.
Maybe 1,600. Somewhere in there. Nah, 1,557.
Okay.
That's my estimate.
Does that make us professionals now? Are we masters of the craft?
You know, really from day one. You know who else? You know who I guess I don't think I've learned a lot from, but who I've listened to on talk radio for many, 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 many years.
Rush Limbaugh?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
El Rushbo. Listen to a little Rush crossing the state this morning as well.
Oh, what's he say? They're talking economy?
Well, you know who crashed the economy?
Well, Obama.
No.
Clinton.
No. The lefties on Wall Street that run the markets.
Come on.
They would do anything to punish Donald Trump and assure that he does not win re-election, according to Rush Limbaugh. And I thought to myself, you know, I bet I haven't met 5 Democratic bankers in my life.
Right, dude.
Or hedge fund managers or whatever.
So I want to make sure I understand this. So the right is saying that the hedge fund managers, the Wall Street money movers, are dumping all the money, selling all the stocks, dumping into treasuries, causing the inverted yield curve, which was then exacerbated by a signal that things aren't going great.
Well, not only that, according to Rush, it's socialist policies in Europe. And in Europe, they have negative interest rates, according to Rush on his big show today. Down the dial on a inferior Whitey Talk Radio product. But his buddy told him, somebody told him, someone that Rush must respect a lot. You know, Rush never graduated from college, much like Hannity and Scott Walker. But anyways, I digress.
Yeah, okay.
But Rush is quoting this buddy from, the golf course or the country club or wherever he got this advice from the guy. And the guy said, basically, no, the economy's strong under Trump. And here's why. This is just a reaction to our global partners and the fact that because of negative yields on money in savings accounts and the like in Europe, people are moving their money over here into treasuries because at least you get some modest gain, and that beats putting your money in the bank and losing money on it. Although that always seems to be how it works for me. I think it's only rich people that actually ever garner interest beyond the banking fees
right.
that they attach to my account.
And if you bounce a check, though, you're upside down the whole year.
I try never do that. But anyways, Rush says it's lefties, and they're doing this on purpose to punish the president, his president. Trump hit back as well. Brett Samuels reporting at thehill.com. Trump hits clueless Fed chair. This was this afternoon, mind you. Crazy inverted yield curve after stocks plunge. What did President Trump have to say? That very stable genius. President Trump on Wednesday slammed Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, called him clueless as stocks took a dive amid looming signs that a recession could be on the horizon.
Oh, isn't this Trump's guy?
Yeah, his appointee, and also the guy he beat the snot out of, beat the Adam Schiff out of, because the guy only, dropped interest rates by a quarter? Anyways, let me read on.
The best people. I mean, this is Trump's handpicked guy for this job.
I don't want to say that Trump even knows who this guy was. Big campaign donor? I'm not clear how he got the job, but let me read on. The president spent part of his day hammering away at the Fed and defending his trade policy towards China, but escalated his attacks when he personally targeted Powell and blamed the central bank for any economic woes. Spread his weight too much on other countries. Say thank you to clueless Jay Powell, thank you all caps, and the Federal Reserve, Trump tweeted from his golf club in New Jersey. Germany and many others are playing the game. Crazy inverted yield curve, exclamation point, all caps. We should easily be reaping big rewards and gains, but the Fed is holding us back. We will win! Exclamation point. What's that mean? How is that a policy I can act on?
Winning?
We will win!
We will win. The market's off 3% today.
Here's the good news for Donald Trump. He's got all his money tied up in the Russian markets. Trump's tweet came shortly after each of the major cable news networks devoted coverage to the decline in the stock market. As of 3:30 p.m., probably Eastern, the Dow Jones Industrial was down nearly 750, off at over 800. The sell-off came after the yield. We talked about the inverted yield curve. The yield curve inversion follows Trump's decision Tuesday to delay further tariffs until after the bulk of the holiday shopping season. Dom, reflecting mounting fears that the trade war could derail the robust U.S. economy. Now, Trump blinked. So are the markets reacting to that? I mean, did they want the trade war extended? Because effectively Trump didn't win. He lost. He blinked.
It's
on the trade war with China.
Long-term strategy. You just got to have some holding power, some staying power. And don't be a whiner like those farmers that are struggling. Just let him work a strategy. It's 3-level chess. You don't get it. He's Donald Trump. He's a stable genius and a winner.
Wasn't it his ag secretary, Perdue, that told the farmers, basically shut your pie holes?
Made a joke referring to farmers as whiners.
Let me finish this Hill article before we go to break. But Trump has been adamant that his posture towards Beijing is working, claiming again on Wednesday that companies are leaving China. Prices to us have not gone up and in some cases have come down, he tweeted. China is not our problem, though Hong Kong is not helping. Our problem was with the Fed. Raised too much and too fast, now too slow to cut. It's unclear if Trump was suggesting the tensions in Hong Kong are having a negative impact on the U.S. economy or relations with Beijing. It's really hard to determine what this man means at any given time. Very stable genius. Great for the markets.
Not today.
I didn't go to post-college MBA. I didn't get my MBA, but did Trump? Is anyone clear that Trump graduated?
We haven't seen his grades, right? We haven't seen diploma.
No, not his grades.
No.
Claimed he was like tops of his class, although there's no evidence of that. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates, always tops in our class. No, back of the class, that is. 844-967-2789. Your call's welcome here.
Do you want to be a winner? All the winners I know like the Devil's Advocates Facebook page.
I alone can fix it.
My congressman, our good friend Mark Pocan. If Donald Trump's under attack, Mark, are you worried about his inspired followers rising up and voting him to re-election?
I am trying to approach this with blinders on when it comes to the political side of it. If he has violated the Constitution, it is our obligation to do an impeachment. And I think from what I've read, I feel that. I think when we get some witnesses in, we'll really have full clarity on that. But if it was just political reasons, some people say, well, then you're going to get, Mike Pence, is that good? And you can second guess every decision we ever make in politics if it's just about politics. In this case, I think that you rise to the Constitution. And if he has violated the Constitution, which I believe he has, there's obstruction on multiple counts, then we have no choice but to do our constitutional job and go after that.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates interviews at DomandCroot.com. Click on the podcast tab and select interviews. That's DomandCroot.com.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
From the Capitol in Madison, this is Wiz Politics Midday.
Good afternoon. I'm Pat Popletti, and our report for Wednesday, August 14th is brought to you by Spectrum. A divided Wisconsin Elections Commission settled on a scaled-back proposal to provide temporary replacement computers to clerks to tighten security of the state's voter database ahead of the 2020 elections. But first, Supreme Court Justice Brian Hagedorn's public investiture ceremony is this afternoon at the state capitol. Hagedorn took the oath of office in a private ceremony earlier this month. Today's event will kick off at 4:30 on the first floor of the rotunda. Additionally, Governor Tony Evers urged the state's largest business group to embrace a diverse workforce to meet future needs, saying the chances of attracting 67-year-old white guys, like him, to move to Wisconsin to fill jobs are, quote, pretty slim. Speaking at the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce Policy Day, Evers said the state's workforce needs keep him up at night as the CEO of the state's largest employer. In meetings with other CEOs across the state, Evers said he's talked about the need to embrace diversity and inclusion in the workplace to help make Wisconsin an attractive place to relocate. WMC spent $1.1 million in TV ads backing his former rival Scott Walker during last fall's gubernatorial elections, according to the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, which tracks spending by independent groups. While Walker often enjoyed an enthusiastic response from the group's annual event, only a couple people at the luncheon address stood to applaud before Evers' remarks began. Finally, ahead of yesterday's special meeting, WEC staff raised concerns about clerks accessing the database on machines that were running critically outdated software, leaving the system vulnerable to hackers. They also pressed commissioners to approve $300,000 to purchase 250 temporary replacement computers. Instead, a divided commission voted 4-2 to approve $30,000 to cover 25 computers. The commission also approved purchasing software that would allow staff to undertake a thorough review of the security posture of all users of the WisVote voter database, adding a federally funded position to support temporary replacement program, and hiring of a marketing firm to lay the groundwork for public information campaign. For WisPolitics Midday, sponsored by Spectrum, I'm Pat Popoletti.
This has been WisPolitics Midday. For more state government and political news, visit wispolitics.com.
Five9, your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy Five9s.com.
Listen to This is Progress with me, Sabrina Madison, on WRRD, and join me in a discussion on progress taking shape across Wisconsin. Tune in Saturdays from 10 a.m. to noon for This is Progress on WRRD 1510 a.m.
And I love all people, rich or poor, but in those particular positions, I just don't want a poor person. Does that make sense?
The Devil's Advocates. Political commentary from the back of the class.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Happy hump day to us all. Dominic, we're going to get to the phones momentarily. 844-967-2789. How's Trump going to explain this one to the American people? Well, if Rush has anything to say about it, well, you blame it on the lefties controlling Wall Street.
I mean, really? That doesn't even make sense.
Not to anyone that uses logic or reason. But Rush's audience probably eating it up. Eating it up. Eating it up on a biscuit.
Could have nothing to do with earnings, could have nothing to do with the inverted yield curve, could have nothing to do with the trade war, could have nothing to do with any of those things.
Well, they're all trying to pin this on Trump and
nothing to do with tax cuts.
Undermine his re-elective efforts, Dom.
Running $1 trillion deficits during the greatest economic boom time in the history.
It's perhaps the Rothschilds. The
2.1 GDP revised growth last quarter. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why people should be concerned. And we are a worldwide market, and certainly you can't dismiss the influence of other markets, be it in Europe or in China or around the world, in our markets. But what about the policies of this president?
Well, you can definitely call him a market mover, Dom. Now, who is this guy? The Fed chair.
Jerome H. Powell. He's the chair, Crudy. As mentioned, he was
Trump donor or just very rich?
Very rich. Saw this, and I guess this is Wikipedia. They say his net worth is at $112 million.
Well, if Wikipedia says it, it must be true.
He was appointed to the, member of the Board of Governors since taking office May 25th of 2012, an expired term. Prior to that, he was a visiting scholar at the Bipartisan Policy Center in D.C., where he focused on federal and state issues. From 1997 through 2005, Crudy, Mr. Powell was a partner at the Carlyle Group. No, the Carlyle Group. This familiar.
Now, did you verify, because I spouted what my memory of the Carlyle Group was. Did you verify whether or not I was right?
I can Wikipedia it, but no, I have not. It
goes back 18 years in my memory. It's September 11th, 2001. And please Google it for me, just so I make sure I'm not making an ass of myself, like talking about muzzle velocity foot per second. But the Carlyle Group, that was, I almost feel like it was Papa Bush and one of the bin Laden family members were at the Carlyle Group watching the day that the Twin Towers came down in 9/11.
A headline from the New York Times from October 26th of 2001, bin Laden family liquidates holdings with Carlyle Group. And the Carlyle Group
And
themselves,
that
from their own website, so you know it's true, the Carlyle Group is a global investment firm with $223 billion in assets under management across 362 investment vehicles. Founded in 1987 in Washington, D.C., has grown into the one of the world's largest and most successful investment firms.
But that's not exactly the assertion I made. No doubt the Carlyle Group's got some unsavory sorts making some money with them, Dom, but I would question whether or not I was correct on them being at the Carlyle Group observing, or if that's just faulty memory.
844-967-2789. I haven't
trust my
found it.
Google.
Why don't you check it out? In the meantime, we'll take some callers. We'll start with Dick from Madison, Wisconsin. Hey, Dick, welcome to the Devil's Advocates. What do you got for us today?
Implosion day.
I'm sorry,
say that again, Dick.
Happy portfolio implosion day.
Happy portfolio. Unless you were betting against the market today, then you had a good day, man.
Some of us are in radio.
Trading.
Dick, some of us are in radio. We don't have portfolios.
Mine is minuscule, but the only reason the lefties in the market are blamed for this is the statute of limitation has run out on Jimmy Carter. He was blamed for everything, everything that ever happened since he left office. About a week and a half ago, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal. I know it's kind of a raggedy paper, but once in a great while. And it was a op-ed with the last 3 or 4 chairmen of the Federal Reserve from Greenspan forward. And they were basically, the gist I got from it, I think it was a week and a half ago, is they were telling this guy to go lay by his bull and stop snooping into their affairs. In other words, he thinks that all you do is just, we'll just lower this and then everything will go away. Thank you, Donald Hoover.
Well, Dick, he's certainly taken it upon himself to try to exert more influence over the Fed than any president in my lifetime, Dick. This is not how it's supposed to be. This is his guy. Trump nominated him. And this is supposed to be an independent organization. It shouldn't have the influence of political leanings on these decisions. And certainly you can argue that Trump has done that and continues to push on the Fed to do what Trump wants to do and not necessarily what the Fed decides may be in the best interest of the country.
So if he would have dropped it a full percent or more, like this $800 free or 800-point free fall wouldn't have happened, right?
Well, that we'll never know now, will we, Dick? But certainly what Trump's not going to do is take any sort of acknowledge in any way, shape, or form that any of his policies has anything to do whatsoever with the market going down 3%.
Powell's fault.
Now, if it goes up 3%, Dick, well, it's all because of Trump and his efforts and his winning investment strategies.
But now, here's the thing with him too. Like you say, when he's going to take credit when something goes good, but he's going to run and hide now from this, or to try and use the Federal Reserve chairman as the whipping boy for the whole thing. It's not that simple as this. He stripped away all the guardrails, like you said earlier. So now what do you do if we are really in the thralls of a recession or maybe even a depression?
Well, here's the good news, Dick, to my opinion. They're going to blame it on the next Democratic president.
Well, yeah.
God willing.
There is that.
Hey, man, thanks for the call. We do appreciate it. You can join us at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I'm not saying I always get it right, but almost always. Real quick. From the Washington Post, this article originally published on March 16, 2003. How's that for memory, buddy? I'm just going to read briefly. It didn't help that the World Trade Center burned on September 11, 2001. The news interrupted a Carlyle business conference at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, here attended by brother of Osama bin Laden, Sharif bin Laden, And former President Bush Sr., a fellow investor, had been with him at the conference the previous day. Greg Schneider pairing the powerful with the rich in the Washington Post. Now, this article that sources the Post does go on to get a little conspiratorial, like, what were they doing together, and could this be sheer coincidence? But I'm not going to relitigate 9/11 and the Bush inside job.
Oh, no. 844-967-2789. Let's get back to the phones. I guess we've got some time. We got Al from Sherman Park on the lines. Al, thank you for calling. What do you got for us today?
Hey, Al.
Hi. So is this Obama's economy or Trump's economy?
Depends. On a day like it dropping 3%, it's the Obama economy. Tomorrow, if it bounces back a couple of percent, it'll be Trump's economy. So it really depends on the day, Al.
Al, I'd have to say over 2 years into his presidency at this point, the strength of job growth and the quote-unquote strength of the markets certainly started under Obama. But right now, you got to call it Trump's economy. I mean, even in the state of Wisconsin.
I'm gonna definitely, because I'm a Trump supporter, I'm gonna definitely call it the Trump economy. And I'm gonna tell you that I did work in the mutual funds industry after November of 1987. By April, it had bounced back. So these day-to-day drops, and some of them are steep, does not mean that we're in a recession.
No doubt, sir. But what about the inversion of the yield curve? The triggering mechanism of the precipitous drop is not a common occurrence.
No, but what it is that it's an emotion. The stock market is always an emotional reaction day by day of how investors feel tomorrow might look. But they're often wrong, because what we still have yet in this last part of the year, we still have back to school. We still have Thanksgiving. We still have the Christmas holiday. We still have fourth quarter earnings, and then what I want to say, gains.
But Al, what if they don't follow predicted course? What if expectations by many Fortune 500 companies are not as grandiose as they told their investors they would be in prospectuses? I mean, you're right. Individual events are reactionary, and people could be just reacting to one day's news cycle, but eventually it's only one event that ever really precipitates every recession or depression. It's one domino that starts the chain reaction, sir.
But the bottom line fundamentals are still strong. There's still consumer confidence. And I'm gonna look.
All right, but Al, hang on, Mike. Come on. I mean, my understanding is the debt that the consumers are holding is now equal or surpass the Great Recession times. I'm not clear that the borrowing that the corporations are doing is that great. I think there are some troubles on the horizons. Certainly the inverted yield curve, the revised GDP to 2.1%. Now, Trump was up there saying 3, 4, 5, 6%. Obviously that's not happening. According to the Washington Post, we have two of the world's largest economies, Germany and the United Kingdom, perhaps could be contracting. Argentina's stock market fell nearly 50%, and growth in China, of course, is way down as well. So if you look at the BRIC countries, you look at the major economies, I think there's reason for concern. And one other thing, Alan, I'll let you respond. A lot of if you were in the business, there's already buy, sells, and triggers and whatnot already happening. If certain things happen, if you're dialed in and you're invested, and if you're a big money mover like some of these big funds are, they already have the plan in action. If X, Y, and Z happens, then that triggers A, B, and C to happen. So these are pre-programmed in many respects, all ready to occur once certain scenarios happen. Go ahead, Al.
Overall, I think we're going to be fine. I think it's an emotional reaction to the news that, Europe has a recession. You got Hong Kong, the protests in Hong Kong. China's economy is a little under the weather right now. And then you've got the Gulf, or the Iranian Gulf crisis going on with the oil ships. So you have a couple of different things that could be scaring people on a day-to-day basis. But overall, let's watch to see how it bounces back in the next 30 days.
Well, here's what I would say. You seem like a very thoughtful, well-informed, reasonable guy. But then you tell me you're a Trump supporter, and I got to write you off completely, sir.
Well, Well, first of all, I've always loved business and economics. I've worked for strong mutual funds.
But then you can't tell me that Trump's good for the economy.
I've worked for Northwestern Mutual Life. I now work in health insurance. Overall, I really feel the economy is going to be fine.
But Trump's volatility is awful for the economy, Al. If you're paying attention, and you seem like you are, and you're a shrewd guy, you know that guys like Donald Trump, and it's not Trump. I'm not trying to demean the president in this particular case. Just talking as a businessman. As a businessman, this guy's bad for business, Al. And you can see that, and I can see that. When this guy's starting trade wars and tariff wars, and this guy's tweeting out daily changes of direction, those things roil the markets, and investors don't like that, Al. So don't tell me the underlying economy is good, because as long as this guy's at the helm, Al, we're headed for disaster, man.
As you, the average American, I assume you're the average American, do you really worry day to day about how the stock market's doing? Used to watch
the bond market every day, sir. I was in financial services. I was a fiduciary. I'm not so dumb.
So does it stop you from living day to day?
When the market crashed in 2007, 2008, the real estate market and a lot of my portfolio was affected. Sure felt like my world stopped. Yes, sir. I've seen the downside of overconfidence and people telling me the underlying indicators are just swell, because that's what they told me in 2005 and 2006, right up to about middle of 2007. Then suddenly the tunes changed.
Well, if you're not being speculative, I think you'd be fine. One of the things that I remember from Dick Strong, working under him, he is a very pragmatic investor. He would say stuff like, you know what, I invest in grocery stores and pet foods because guess what? When there's a recession, people don't stop eating. They don't stop feeding their pets. They don't stop using electricity. They don't stop using water and energy. So think about it in a pragmatic way.
All right,
sure,
Al.
man.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's like waste management, man. Garbage will always be there. Thanks
and I
for the
bet
call,
the
Al.
average billionaire and pretty much anyone that is financially sound for the rest of their days, I bet they're not sweating this. Hey, it's a buying opportunity, perhaps.
Well, let's not forget Dick Strong from here in Wisconsin, Milwaukee. He paid a $60 million fine to settle allegations. He made improper mutual fund trades when he wasn't supposed to be doing so. So, yeah.
Took a few liberties on behalf of his clients. Al's mentor did. Be careful, Al.
I'm just saying, man.
Well, he is a Trump supporter. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. You can call us Trump supporters. Just be able to defend yourself. 844-967-2789. And yes, I will kick you there.
People are very, very impressed with what I've done to business people.
And nobody even understands it but me. It's called devaluation.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Got unwanted pests in your home or business? Call Get Rid Pest Control at 414-368-0696. State licensed and certified with over 20 years experience, Get Rid Pest Control guarantees their work in the removal of common household pests, including mice, rats, ants, roaches, spiders, centipedes, and bedbugs. Humane trapping and removal of larger pests as well. Unmarked vehicles available upon request. 24-hour emergency service available. Call Get Rid Pest Control today for your free estimate. 414-368-0696. If you got it, we'll get it.
We the people, the hardworking 99% of men and women, only have a voice when we join together as one and amplify our message. Now is the time for all Wisconsinites to join We the People and raise our voices. Do you feel like you are wasting your money funding unaccountable consultants, unresponsive candidates, and their campaigns? Help us do something that really matters. Please join We the People. Give what you can so we can support progressive radio stations like this one, using the public airwaves to educate Wisconsin about what we the people want for our state and remind Wisconsin's politicians that they work for us. Your donations to We the People at p4ppc.org, a registered, compliant IRS 501c3, will always be tax deductible, will always remain anonymous, and We the People pledge to spend 100% of donations educating Wisconsin on the issues our donors want discussed, giving individuals a voice in the collective message of We the People. Please give today at p4ppc.org. That's p4ppc.org. We the people need you.
The Devil's Advocates. They refuse to do math on the radio.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube and on Facebook. We're on Twitter at Devil Radio, and you can join us on the phones at 844-967-2789.
Now, Dominic, I do want to give Al credit for at least watching the headlines accurately. Consumer confidence, according to the Conference Board, rebounded in July to a much higher than expected number, about 135.7. That's up from 124.3. And my understanding is that beat consensus estimates by a considerable amount. And that is the highest consumer confidence level since November. But that's before everyone's 401ks crashed today.
Right. Let's not forget student loan debt also going through the roof. And I did see another headline, I believe it was yesterday, that the mortgage debt held by United States citizens is as high as it's ever been.
Well, when you start seeing default rates on the mortgages, that's when you know the economy's really headed for trouble. And I'm not hoping for it. I know a guy like Bill Maher does the show on the HBO.
Yeah.
I mean, very funny show, but he's rooting for a recession. Thinks that's what it will take to take down Donald Trump. I don't know if it's going to take all that. I don't know if you can, in good conscience, root for people to lose their job and suffer unnecessarily. But I don't think Bill Maher has the ability to affect the outcome. And I think Donald Trump does. And I think he is, Agent Orange. I think he is a agent of volatility and distraction for the markets. So setting aside the fact that I don't like his politics or pretty much anything about the man, he's terrible for roiling the markets. And we have wondered aloud a couple times.
Is he selling short?
Is he doing this on purpose with financial benefit?
On the back end. How do we ever know?
Yeah, we would not know. We would not know if he knows that he can affect the entire U.S. economic markets through a tweet. And he tells his broker, hey, guess what I'm going to do this morning?
Or hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cancel the tariffs I was going to put on China. So I'm going to do that this morning. Make sure you. And of course, when he did that, the markets went up. And when he puts it on, the markets go down. If he's playing that game, again, I'm a cynical bastard. I believe those things have happened, will happen, continue to happen. We'll get to the callers in a moment. 844.
You're very accurate in that assessment.
967-2789 from the Washington Post. A brief couple of paragraphs. The government is expected to spend roughly $1 trillion more than it brings in through revenue this year, creating a ballooning deficit. Businesses' investment has begun to contract, largely due to the uncertainty surrounding Trump's trade war, and manufacturing jobs have begun to slide. The big hiring and investment announcements that piled up at the beginning of the Trump administration have ceased, as have the announcements of bonuses and pay increases that came after a tax cut law was passed in 2017. Like a little bump of cocaine, it's gone. Now people are chasing. Now what? Several White House officials have become concerned that the economy is weakening faster than expected, but they are not working on proactive plans to try and change its course. The Treasury Department has had an exodus of senior advisors in recent months, and the White House just replaced the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors. Instead of rolling out new policies, Trump and other aides have escalated their attacks on the Federal Reserve, trying to pin much of the U.S.'s problems on what Trump alleges is elevated interest rates that are strangling growth, the 2.1 GDP. And Trump sought to dismiss the inverted yield curve Wednesday by saying it reflected how optimistic investors are in the U.S. economy. Tremendous amounts of money pouring into the United States. People want safety. 844-967-2789. Betsy, I can give you a minute or two. Thank you for calling today. Happy Hump Day. What do you got?
Well, hey, happy Hump Day. Wait till the October surprise when Brexit leaves without a hard, well, they call it a hard Brexit, because Boris Johnson, we got all these strong men in this global economy now.
You mean England Trump?
Right.
Yeah.
Britain Trump?
Benny Hill?
Yeah. China would like nothing. They are devaluing their dollar. I mean, it's right before your eyes. I mean, I'm not very mathematically inclined. I'm just watching what's happening. I mean, I go to the grocery store, the prices, everything's going up. I mean, you can't sustain this. They've just run it. They're going to, And if you listen to Tom Hartman, and I hope you do, it's coming. And everybody better get ready, because you cannot sustain this. Not only that, Trump is a robber baron, and I've had it with this man. Everything he does, he's trying to destroy our country. He's trying to destroy the government. I mean, everything.
But only because of the very best reasons, self-enrichment, Betsy.
Thank you for the call, Betsy. 844-967-2789.
I mean, if you're going to screw the entirety of a country.
You may as well get paid.
Yeah.
Also from the Post, aside from the drop in the Dow, the S&P 500 stock index, a broader measure of stocks, was down about 2.4%, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ composite dropped about 2.7%. 10 of the 11 market sectors were in the loss column Wednesday, with energy, consumer staples, and financial services leading the way. Bank stocks slumped off the news. Bank of America and Citigroup saw their shares sink more than 4%. JP Morgan down 3.6%. Gold, a safe haven for investors, rose, and the influx of investors scrambling for safety pushed the 30-year Treasury yields to their lowest level ever.
Ever?
Ever?
It's sad to think your greatest net worth are the fillings in your teeth right now.
Right.
Come back with us. Hour 2 is next. We're going to have a fine guest. Matt Rothschild joining us at 4:30. Did I mention that? And also, going to do a little Foxconn update.
Oh, business talk.
Apparently, yeah, a little more business talk. Foxconn, it's working out swimmingly for the state of Wisconsin. We'll tell you all about it in hour 2.
If politics is boring, you're doing it wrong. Check out more at DomandCroot.com.
Never, ever.
Very cosmopolitan.
The Packing House Restaurant, located at 900 East Layton Avenue, offers fine dining and casual supper club style. Family owned and operated for over 40 years, the Packing House features great steaks, prime rib, and the best fish fry around. Join us for live music on Wednesday through Saturday evenings. The Packing House Restaurant, open for lunch Monday through Friday and dinner nightly. Call us at 414-483-5054 or visit us online at packinghousemke.com.
Hi, I'm Kelly, and my family owns Madison Liquidators, a company with sustainability as our business model. We are excited to announce that we are moving into a bigger, nicer location, allowing us to serve you better with expanded inventories of both new and used office furniture. Right now, we will give you a great deal because we would much rather move any of our current inventory into your office than our new space. Check out our complete inventory online at MadisonLiquidators.com or come make a deal off Pleasant View Road in Middleton before moving day.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Wall Street sinking, China preparing. I'm Christopher Cruz. It was an ugly day on Wall Street. The Dow opened 400 points down and closed down 800. That's more than 3%. Long-term yields fell below short-term yields for the first time since 2007. That's an inverted yield curve, a signal that has correctly predicted each of the last 7 recessions. Grant Thornton chief economist Diane Swonk says America's trade war with China has spooked investors.
They're the elephant
elephant in the room. Second largest economy in the world, and unlike Japan back in the 1980s, they're not isolated. They affect all of us, and it's showing up in weakness in Germany, weakness in Europe. We've got other trade wars going on elsewhere in the world. All of that comes home to roost and has already shown up in the U.S. economy as weakness in investment.
As the market tanked, President Trump criticized the Federal Reserve throughout the day on Twitter. In one tweet, he wrote, "Our problem is with the Fed. Raised too much and too fast. Now too slow to cut." White House correspondent Bob Costantini says there was more.
Whenever there's bad economic news, President Trump's favorite target for blame is the Federal Reserve and its chairman, Jerome Powell. The president tweeting from his New Jersey resort as markets worry about recession, the Federal Reserve acted far too quickly and now is very, very late. That's a quote from the president, who otherwise has tweeted like-minded quotes from Fox Business Network hosts.
China says the 2 months of pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong have reached, quote, near terrorism levels. Correspondent Matt Rivers says China has massed troops at the border and may be preparing to make a move.
That's the first time that we've seen those armed police, which is actually a part of China's Central Military Commission. It's a step below the People's Liberation Army, the centralized army. It's the first time we've seen them deployed in large numbers right on the border here since these protests began.
It was a very tough day on Wall Street. The Dow down 3%, S&P 500 and NASDAQ about 3% down as well. I'm Christopher Cruz.
It is a Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern. This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. You know, in the 7 years that Crudy and I have been doing the show, we have never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now, advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Real Resistance Radio. Market your products or services, get your message out, join the resistance. Call us at 414-635-0872. That's 414-635-0872, or go to realresistanceradio.com.
Conservative Iowa Republican Congressman Steve King today wondered aloud whether the human race would still exist without rape and incest. He spoke to the West Side Conservative Club in Des Moines.
What if we went back through all the family trees and just pulled those people out that were products of rape and incest? Would there be any population of the world left if we did that? Considering all the wars and all the rape and pillage that's taken place and whatever happened in culture after society, I know I can't certify that they're not part of a product of that.
CNN reporting that President Trump has backed off a plan to commute the sentence of former Illinois Democratic Governor Rod Blagojevich. Correspondent Joe Johns.
Apparently, the president got flooded with calls from Illinois politicians, all of whom saying this is just a bad idea. It sends the wrong message.
The top story of the day, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closing down 800 points. The drop blamed on the bond market, flashing a warning sign about a possible recession that had not been seen in 14 years. I'm Christopher Cruz.
We have.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella, Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines. Five Nines is more than just our name. It's the level of service you can expect. We provide 99.999% uptime. That's the highest availability and performance you can get. You have enough to worry about with your business data, web, security, and cloud services, so we'll manage your IT so you don't have to. Visit 5nines.com. That's the number 5nines.com.
Eric Holder, he's the former U.S. Attorney General and current chair of the National Democratic Redistricting Committee.
The notion that Scott Walker is saying that we are doing something to push partisan gerrymandering, that is the pot calling the kettle total black. I mean, that's absurd. He is one of the architects of among the most gerrymandered states in the Union. All we're pushing for is a fair process come 2021.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Wisconsin has lost thousands of family farms in the past few years, but despite that fact, the agricultural industry in the state continues to grow. The University of Wisconsin-Madison releases a report every 5 years which measures the state's agriculture economy. The newest research released yesterday shows a nearly 19% increase in economic activity over the 5-year period. The state's dairy industry, which lost several thousand small family-run farms, only went up by 6%. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison. Tonight, mostly cloudy with lows around 63 in Milwaukee, 58 in Madison. Tomorrow, mostly sunny with highs in the mid-70s. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN, Wisconsin's Political Talk.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back, hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dom, the lineup getting better every minute.
That's how we do it.
Late edition, and a good friend of ours. He is Matt Flynn, former Democratic Party chair, great state of Wisconsin, former Dem gubernatorial candidate, a friend of ours. Matt, welcome back.
Good to be back, Crute. Good to be back.
Thank you, Matt.
Well, we were talking Foxconn, and I thought, who hates Foxconn nearly as much as I hate Foxconn? And I thought of you first. Matt Flynn, my understanding, Foxconn officials were in the state of Wisconsin today. They met with the Republican leadership, and we know this because Robin Vos acknowledged a meeting and nothing else. Fitzgerald had no comment, and apparently Evers also met with Foxconn. First and foremost, Matt, if there'd been good news from Foxconn today, don't you think the Republicans would have tweeted something out about it?
Look, there hasn't been good news from Foxconn in 2 years, and that's because of a very simple thing. Foxconn basically snookered Scott Walker. We spent about $1 billion in infrastructure for something that's never going to be built. Listen, Crute, they said that there would be 13,000 jobs at $53,000 a year. That was false. It was false then. It's false now. And this is nothing more than a limp along, get beyond the 2020 elections to make Trump look good, and then they are out of here like a goose into the southern sky, okay? Their former president's running for premier of Taiwan. He's pro-communist China. He wants greater ties between Taiwan and China. This whole thing stinks to high heavens. Vos and Fitzgerald, the head of a Russian Duma, an illegitimate Republican legislature that's there by gerrymandering with a minority of the votes, and they're screwing up this state.
You know, I hate how you always sugarcoat it, man.
I speak the truth, my friend.
Buddy, let me ask you, CNBC, about a month ago, I think it was, Tony Evers went on the Financial Channel and said, you know, newest news from Foxconn, we're down to a 6G plant, which will be about 1 million square feet, which seems like a lot, but it's about 1/20th of what they had promised prior, and we're down to 1,500 jobs. Well, you know, 13,000 down to 1,500. We're basically about 1/10 of the jobs. And I saw PolitiFact Wisconsin said at 3,000 jobs, we're talking an incentive of $576,000 per job, Matt. If we're down to 1,500 jobs, are the Wisconsin taxpayers paying over $1 million per job now?
Yeah, they will be if they get them. Crute, I don't believe there's going to be any jobs, okay? Only a couple of real estate agents and a couple of lawyers and a couple of Chinese engineers who are all there like a Potemkin kind of thing, like a fake, a fake bar scene in a Western, and they're going to be gone. The real thing is we've already paid $1 billion almost, committed it for infrastructure, for expanded roads, for so-called driverless vehicles that are never going to get there. Why is all this money being put in Racine County? I love Racine County. But what the hell? What about Milwaukee County, Dane County? What about Eau Claire County? What about Superior and Douglas County? You know, there's a lot of roads in the state that are no damn good. And so this thing, they've been limping it along. And I got to say, I'm a Democrat as a chairman of the party, but Tony Evers has not been aggressive in this. He keeps going along and saying, well, we got to work with them and this, that, and the other thing. And I'll tell you, that's very, very dangerous. You can't work with a wolf. You can't work with a wolf. And Voss and Fitzgerald are a pair of wolves. And this is put in to get Walker reelected. It didn't do him any damn good. But now Trump doesn't want to have egg on his face.
But with 1,500 jobs, man, I mean, shouldn't Tony be up on the mountaintop sounding the alarm? Hey, time to pull the plug. I mean, he's acting like, well, maybe we'll renegotiate. Renegotiate? A little late for that. I mean, how do we kill this deal? And why is Tony Evers not advocating for killing the deal, or at least some meaningful renegotiation of the deal?
Look, he's a ghost governor. Look, let's be very, very honest here. What's going on is there's an economist report that the Department of Administration had asked for, and it said that even with renegotiation, we will be underwater and we will not recover our costs. Now, why in God's name are you renegotiating something when even if the renegotiating is successful, you won't recover your costs? We have a right to bring a suit for breach of contract. All that Tony Evers has to do is tell Josh Kaul to do it. Josh is a damn good lawyer. He goes in for breach of contract. Hey, we're going to put out $1 billion because they said 13,000 jobs at $53,000. Now they're saying 1,500 and a lot less than $53,000. And even with that, there's a lot of indicators that they're not going to create any jobs at all. Breach of contract. Rescind it. That's a term of art. Rescind it and restore our damages for what we've paid out. Any major corporation, IBM, Johnson Controls, Harley-Davidson, anybody else who had been treated in this shabby manner would have gone in for breach of contract. But the fact is that the Democratic Party has become very feline. It's become very passive-aggressive. It has no guts, and it just stands there and gets slapped around all the time, and I'm damn tired of it.
Matt, I'll let Dom take
Folks,
this
you're
one.
listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. That's our friend Matt Flynn joining us on the phone talking some Foxconn. Matt, but let's just go back to the original document and the original Legislative Fiscal Bureau analysis of this. And I believe it was perhaps you or your campaign when you were running for governor, Matt, that pointed this out
Dana
to
Wachs.
me. Dana Wachs. I'm sorry, it was Dana Wachs. Sorry. Someone on Dana Wachs' staff brought this up to us, that when they crunched the numbers, they never accounted for inflation. We're talking about a 25-year, perhaps longer payout, and they put it all in today's dollars. They made all sorts of grand assumptions right from the beginning, Matt, about where the jobs were coming from, the extra jobs that would come, the supply chain jobs. This whole thing from the start was a ruse. But even right now, even if we're able to somehow, through the governor's actions, through the Attorney General, Josh Kaul, and we file suit and somehow get something, people still lost their homes to eminent domain. We still have perhaps an environmental issue to our neighbors to the south with the rainwater coming off and flooding their rivers. We have lots of environmental concerns on this, Matt. Can we ever be made whole given these other variables that we still don't have a full grasp of yet?
No, and let me say three things. One, what you're describing is they didn't look at present value. That was our press release. Dana also reiterated it. And so
My bad.
No. But listen, Dana's a good guy. He said it too. The point of the matter is that all they're saying is by the year 2040 or 2045, we'll get back in 2045 dollars, which will be worth half of what they are now. Right. And they said that's a good deal. That was stupid as hell. The second thing, though, that we've got to understand is that a damages theory and a breach of contract can only go so far. If Foxconn has title to any of these houses in rescission, the homeowners can get it back. But if that land was bought by someone else, then all you can do is say, we'll give you damages, and the jury's got to decide it. But even over and above damages, you just nailed it. They're going to be putting, they said, 7 million gallons out of Michigan every day, 4 million back polluted. 4 million back polluted. What's that all about? And what they've done is they filled in wetlands. They're going to have to unfill those wetlands. They're going to have to rescind the environmental damage to the extent they can. But we've got to move on this. And, Evers, somebody on the call-in on the Earl Ingram show when I was on, said Evers is really like a librarian, and he is. The problem with librarians, they give one speech. They put their finger on their mouth and they go, that's their speech, okay? And that is all we've heard out of Evers, and I'm damn tired of it, very tired of it.
Okay, Matt, I remember my question. It slipped my mind there at your passion. Here's my question. $3 billion. We saw this originally reported, but the $3 billion investment from the state of Wisconsin does not factor in the local municipality. My understanding is they are the ones that bought up all this land. And
right.
If I understand correctly, it's really more like $4.5 billion in total expenditure. And I've heard Robin Vos and I've heard Scott Walker and lots of Republicans that say no jobs, no money. But that's about 1/3 of the expenditure. Man, I'm not clear about the capital investment part. But if they build a 1 million square foot factory, promised us 20 million square feet, but expend some capital expenditure, never create the jobs, couldn't we be on the hook for up to about $3 billion in infrastructure plus capital investment cash matches? And even if highly successful, manufacturers don't literally pay 0.4%, no taxes in the state of Wisconsin. Right. There's no way to recoup.
Well, here are the true facts, and here is the scam about this thing. Mount Pleasant and Racine have each committed to close to $1 billion. Some say slightly over. I'll level it at $1 billion.
Is that cumulative, or each community is in for $1 billion?
Cumulative. But still, look, Mount Pleasant, for God's sake, what do you think their tax roll is? You think they can support that? You think Racine can support that? All they're going to do is they're borrowing, and guess when they default, Mount Pleasant and Racine don't have $1 billion with a B, $1 billion. The state will bail them out. So that's number one, billion. Number two, they have to create jobs to get any further incentives. My feeling, my view, and it's strongly supported, is that it's never going to get off the ground at all. So they won't get any more money, but we're at $1 billion by indemnifying Racine and Mount Pleasant. Secondly, if they come up with 1,500 jobs instead of 13,000, the truth is that's a breach of contract. You can't, if I contracted you and for 20 million something or other square feet, and you give me $1 million, that's 5%. Well, Matt, pay me what? No. There has to be substantial compliance. 5% isn't substantial compliance. You say you're going to create 13,000 jobs, and you say now 1,500. They've admitted it. That's about a little over 10%. 10% is not substantial compliance. That's the term of art. Out. Breach of contract. I think that Evers is afraid to get into a lawsuit. He doesn't want to rock the boat. He's had a whole career shining up to small-town school boards and making corny jokes, okay? That's all it is. And he is dealing with a couple of killers here. Voss, Fitzgerald, Walker, these people sold the state down the river. So the fact is that they're already, even if they don't get a penny, we're on the hook for $1 billion. What's that all about? Would you put in $1 billion on the come? It's ridiculous. And then you're right. If they create 1,500, if I'm wrong, and they do a little bit, it's going to be a subsidy of many hundreds of thousands of dollars a job, up to $1 million a job. And that is just insane, and it was done for political reasons.
One other quick question, at least I have, Matt. What about the vacant buildings all around the state of Wisconsin? They promised us there would be all these technology partnerships all around the state, Eau Claire and Green Bay and Madison. And there's also this $100 million pledge to the UW, or at least Foxconn's supposed to match some private donor pledge or something of the sort. Matt, does that mean we're not getting that money either?
Listen, this is all bull feathers. Listen, how stupid are we? Okay, how stupid is this state? Let me tell you this. They come in, these Chinese guys, and they say, oh, we're going to build a technology hub. They buy a building in downtown Milwaukee and then lease it back to the investment firm that used to own it. They're not doing a damn thing. They did it in Eau Claire. They did it in Green Bay. They're vacant, okay? They do it in Madison. Now, the day after the election in 2020, they'll sell them, probably make a profit on it. How stupid are we, okay? The second thing, you said $100 million. The deal that they did was it's $100 million after UW puts in the first $100 million, and Foxconn gets the intellectual property of the researchers at the University of Wisconsin who come up with whatever they come up with. All it is is a heist of intellectual property, which the Chinese are experts at, and they've been doing it all over the country. They realized we're pigeons. We're so stupid. Walker is so stupid. So is Voss. So is Fitzgerald. They said, we'll pay you $100 million along with your $100 million to develop it and then give you the intellectual property. They laughed at us. They laughed at us. This is the stupidest state in the country, and the stupidest government in the country, and the stupidest Republican Party. And what, are you the only radio station that's bothering to say this? What is right-wing talk radio saying?
They're saying,
I mean, look.
Matt, we got to go, man. I love your passion.
Right.
More Devil's Advocates on the other
Thank
side.
you, Matt.
Matt Flynn, our fine guest. Phone lines open, 844-967-2789.
Foxconn will help Wisconsin win the 21st century.
I wish you weren't a liar.
The Foxconn deal that WEDC cut with Foxconn was a very expensive deal for the state of Wisconsin.
Nobody ever goes in. Nobody ever comes out.
Thank you, Mr. Foxconn.
You're so stupid!
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Five Nines, your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
Go back to where they came from, help those people come back and show us how to do it. That was the full quote.
They didn't come from anywhere. They were here, dude. Are you employed, Chris?
I am.
Do you have an HR department?
Yes, I do. I'm a union machinist.
Oh, do you work with minorities?
I do.
If you walked up to one of your coworkers who was a minority, you told them to go back to where they came from, would HR have a conversation with you about that, do you think?
It depends on the person, really. I mean, some people are...
If somebody complained to HR about what you said, do you think they would have a conversation with you about that? Okay.
Absolutely.
But why? Why would they pull you off of your job to discuss this with you, and what do you think their beef would be?
Because they're trying to protect the corporation from lawsuits.
Lawsuit for what?
Discrimination, racism.
So if your coworkers, if you say it to your coworker, it could be described as discrimination or racism. But when the president says it to the world, it's not racist?
No. Yikes.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. That means it could be you, your best man, your worst man. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org to know where you stand. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners. When they go low, we get high. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube and on Facebook pages. We are on Twitter at Devil Radio and the political party line. Toll free, talk or text 844-967-2789.
Matt Flynn, a man after my own heart, has no filter and a fine head of hair. I envy his hair.
Yeah,
I told him when he ran for governor, if hair was the standard, he should be the governor.
I should be president.
Thank you, Matt Flynn, for joining us. Another fine guest coming soon, so we better get to the phones. Matt Rothschild at the bottom of the hour from the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Jake from Milwaukee looks like he's next. Jake, thanks for calling. What do you got for us?
Yeah, speaking of weasels that wear suits, Robin Voss, and no offense to weasels, actually, he's worse. But have you noticed that he's trying to triangulate things away from the Democrats? For instance, he has a special commission on fresh water, his special commission on suicide, his whatever, things that he's trying to, to me, looks like he's trying to position himself for running for governor or something.
Well,
have you noticed that?
Yes. I mean, Jake, yeah, I think the man's running for governor. I think it's very obvious. He claims, or at least told Daniel Bice, that, he likes his current role, the power of the legislature. says he wants a veto-proof Republican majority. That's his newest prediction. They're going to win a super majority of the seats in the next elective cycle. That's what Voss says. And I would note, I don't think a weasel would wear a Robin Voss suit.
I think potentially, Jake, and thank you for the call, the Republicans could get crushed on the tail end of this Foxconn deal. I mean, this is...
But even
I'm
Gordon,
with Matt. This is a
but
terrible
even
situation.
Gordon Hentz, the Assembly Minority Leader, tweeted out today, under no circumstance will the Dems have the majority in the Assembly in 2020.
844-967-2789.
If I read it correctly. I should make sure I got that one.
Sherman, you're up from the north side while Crudy checks his homework. Welcome back, Sherman. Sherman, what do you got for us?
I'm all right. How y'all doing today?
Good, sir. Thank you.
It was as far as the Foxconn thing, the bagging out the deal. You remember the deal they had made with Milwaukee with Talgo?
Yeah, high-speed rail deal, and Talgo got about $50 million, I believe, as a settlement for rail cars they constructed and sent to a different state.
Yeah. So is it possible just Milwaukee just back out of, I guess Wisconsin can back out of the Foxconn deal?
Well, it's not that we are going to back out, according to our good friend, attorney Matt Flynn. Sherman, it's the fact that they've already breached the deal. They broke the deal. They're the Welchers. So we would not be subject to penalty. Theoretically, they could be subject to penalty.
So why would they just make it happen?
Well, that's up to your governor or the attorney general at the direction of the governor. And as we're going to point out here in just a minute, Sherman, Governor Evers went over to Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce. They're often known in this state as WMC. And they're a big lobbyist organization. And Evers gave a speech, and Matt Rothschild brought it to our attention. He's going to join us next, Sherman. But this speech that Evers gave is reminiscent of a Scott Walker speech.
Sherman, quickly before we run out of time, do you think that the state of Wisconsin should sue Foxconn for breach of contract or in some way try to extricate themselves from this deal?
Kill the deal?
Tomorrow morning.
Why not tonight, Sherman?
Thank you, Sherman. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you listening. We got a good friend, Matt Rothschild, our good friend Batman, the vigilante of good governance from the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Matt joins us next live via phone. You know, he's heading into the studio. He didn't know I was here in Milwaukee. I kind of feel bad, Matt. You know, we would have accommodated you. I would have offered you a cold one. But anyways, phone call for Matt Rothschild is next. Thank you so much for accommodating Batman. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Unless some of that gold on the ceiling falls in my pocket in the meantime.
Wanker.
Never, ever.
Talk it out, man.
Congresswoman Gwen Moore.
You know, I thought it was really important to share with people my diagnosis of cancer. The Affordable Care Act is the kind of thing that's going to keep me alive for a long, long time. Why? Because they can't throw me off of my health insurance simply because I have cancer. The Affordable Care Act, Obamacare provided for that. They can't raise my rates and my premiums so high beyond community rating and beyond age rating. Obamacare created that. They can't cap the amount of benefits that they are willing to give me over a lifetime. I have medicine that costs $18,000 a month. They can't force me to pay out-of-pocket costs beyond a certain point. All of that happened because of Obamacare. Thank you, Obama.
You can listen to the Devil's Advocates interviews at DomandCrute.com. Click on the podcast tab and select interviews. That's DomandCrute.com.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Hey guys, this is Maggie Dawn, host of Dawn of the Resistance, live Thursdays and Fridays from 6 to 7 p.m. Starting August 22nd, I'm going to be joined in studio with Dr. Fran Kaplan and Reggie Jackson, Executive Director of America's Black Holocaust Museum, to do 6 shows about race in America. On August 22nd and 23rd, we're going to talk about the history you never learned, facts about race in America. On August 29th and 30th, we're going to talk about why we think the way we do, unpacking implicit bias. Last, on September 5th and 6th, we're going to talk about why what we say and what we do matters. Getting woke, staying woke, and doing woke things. So white folks, you got questions you've never asked? Write them down, tune in, and call in starting August 22nd through September 6th on Dawn of the Resistance on WRRD 1510 AM, always streaming live at newstalk1510am.com.
Our friends over at Madison Liquidators are expanding into a bigger, nicer space just off Pleasant View Road in Middleton to better serve their clients and better display their extensive collection of new and nicer used office furniture. Start online at MadisonLiquidators.com for their complete collection, or go see Kelly to help make your own office plan. MadisonLiquidators.com. Tell them you heard them on Talk 92.7 FM.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. PolitiFact Wisconsin checked the claim by Senator Tammy Baldwin that more Americans are uninsured today than when Donald Trump took office. PolitiFact says the Trump administration has made it harder to sign up for insurance, lifted the ban on so-called junk insurance policies, made enrollees pay more, allowed states to alter parts of the ACA law, and they've required Medicaid recipients to work in order to receive coverage. PolitiFact said the number of uninsured was trending down under President Obama, but started going up again under Donald Trump. PolitiFact rated the claim by Baldwin as true. Outside tonight, mostly cloudy with lows around 63 in Milwaukee, 58 in Madison. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We welcome back a fine guest and a good friend. He's Batman, the vigilante of good governance. Matt Rothschild, the Executive Director, Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Matt, welcome back, man. Thanks for joining us via phone.
Hey, Matt.
My pleasure, Trudy and Dom. Yeah, pulled a U-turn there with the old Camry.
Well, I apologize for my co-host not giving you better directions.
Come on.
My bad, Matt. My bad. It's like the second time I've said that on the air today. Let's talk about a little piece, some commentary that you sent to our attention. And as you wrote the headline here, right, buddy?
I wrote the whole thing. We don't have a posse of writers here in the office.
Right. Making sure it wasn't some guy from the New York Times that wrote your headline, but you write, Evers bows to WMC. Of course, you mean Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce. Matt, how dare you say that about our Democratic governor? Whatever for do you mean, sir?
Well, you know, he spoke to Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce yesterday, and I saw the media coverage where he's talking about the need for diversity, which I totally agree with, and welcoming everyone to our state, which is refreshing, especially compared to what comes out of the President of the United States' mouth. But, you know, WMC is the frickin' enemy. I mean, they have done more than any other group to destroy our state over the last 8 years, and they tried to take Evers down during the campaign, spending more than $1 million to try to get Walker to win yet again. And so I was curious about what other things the governor had to say to Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce and what his manner might have been. And so I was kind of horrified when I went to Wisconsin and I watched the whole speech, because basically he rolled over for WMC. I mean, it was amazing to me. Here's a line that just about made me vomit. My administration continues to support the work that you're doing to create a better Wisconsin. Really? You got to be kidding me. I mean, these guys have done more to support bills that are destroying our environment, ruining, the power of unions in this state, shoving it to consumers every which way but Sunday. I mean, it was just an appalling act of obsequiousness that he didn't really need to engage in. He could say, I want to work with the business community. I know you guys tried to knock me down. Too bad you missed, or something like that. But instead he just came in and said, you guys are doing a great job, and he didn't have one word of criticism for him.
Matt,
it was unbelievable.
Did Governor Evers articulate what some of those great things that WMC has been doing for Wisconsin? Did he get into any list or cite any example of what he was talking about?
No, he said we both want to attract talent here. Basically, he acted like he was one of them. He said, I'm the CEO of the biggest company in Wisconsin. By that, he meant the state government, and I am competing with you guys to attract talent to the state. We all know as CEOs that it's hard to attract talent to the state, so we both got to do what we can to make Wisconsin an attractive place to work. That was his shtick.
Wouldn't it have been an opportune time to address perhaps some of the issues with the environment or the attacks against organized labor? The people that voted for him would perhaps want him to air the grievances that many have against what WMC has been doing in the state over the last couple of decades.
I mean, that's what I was looking for, at least an acknowledgement or even a hint of an acknowledgement that these guys were on the wrong side, that WMC was, doing everything in their power to keep Scott Walker and Fitzgerald and Voss elected, number one, and number two, to ram through laws and policies that have been really ruinous for our environment and ruinous for worker rights and ruinous for consumer rights. But instead he acted like, we're all buddies here and we all want the same thing and you're doing a good job, keep doing it. And that's what took my breath away. I mean, it was just, I know he's got, some people say the realpolitik folks, you got to be nice to the business community. It's one thing to be nice to the business community. It's another thing to distort the historical record. I mean, come on.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Got a fine guest live via phone. He is, got to make sure I got the right man here, Matt Rothschild. Batman, he is the executive director of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Matt, I wonder, at any time did the words "Wisconsin's open for business" exit Tony's mouth?
No, but he did. There were lines where he sounded like Walker, where he said, we want to get behind our entrepreneurs in Wisconsin, and it was just very odd, and there was no sense that these guys were on the other side on any of the issues that he was talking about. I mean, it was so obscure and weird. And he was obscure and weird on other things, too, like the budget battle. He acted like the budget agreement was some great bipartisan hand-holding thing that happened between him and Fitzgerald and Voss, and said the media was making up the fact that it was that there was partisanship involved. And, I saw that. I've got a pretty sensitive BS detector, and it was going way off the charts there.
Matt, he also, talking about the governor, Tony Evers, said something, I'm quoting your commentary, I quote, "New investments in research and development in the University of Wisconsin system and then help remove barriers that we find when we look to pass on that research and development to the private sector." Now, Matt, I know that WARF and the UW have done pretty well on creation of patents and different things. And my understanding is there's supposed to be a $100 million partnership between Foxconn and the UW system. And, we're very skeptical whether or not that partnership comes together. But effectively, that was a handoff of U.S. technology to a foreign corporation. Matt, I find that troubling. I don't think that private industry should garner all the benefits of what is created at the University of Wisconsin through taxpayer dollars and obviously sometimes grant-based research. What was your thought?
Yeah, the reason I put that in there was exactly what you're talking about. I mean, this is corporate socialism. This is, have the public pay for the research and development and then hand it off to a private company so they can reap all the profits. And, we see that with the federal government, and now Evers wants to make it easier on the state side. I mean, that really sticks in my throat.
Now, Matt, it's my understanding that Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, perhaps because they perceive themselves to be, the biggest lobbyist pro-manufacturing interest in the state of Wisconsin, they were certainly pro-Foxconn. And we just had Matt Flynn on prior to you coming and joining us here, Matt. And I got to tell you, we're all very, very skeptical of where we stand on Foxconn. Was there any mention of Foxconn? Did he chastise? Did he say, big changes coming, lawsuit coming, or anything other than, hey, we're swell with Foxconn?
No, the word Foxconn never left his lips.
How can you address... I'm sorry, Matt, to interrupt, but how can you address the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce and not talk about the biggest investment in the history of our nation, the greatest incentive given to a foreign corporation, something that now is Tony's? He now owns this. Evers owns Foxconn. How does he not address it with their very well-paid lobbyist?
I just don't know. I mean, it was as though Foxconn didn't exist. And, the boondoggle that Matt Flynn was talking about never happened as far as the speech goes, which, by the way, WMC applauded. I saw on its website and at the Wheeler Report that the WMC put out a press release saying it was a great talk that Tony Evers just gave to us. So you can see why they applauded it. And I mean, that was the amazing thing about the speech. There was just nothing in there that Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce could take issue with.
Matt, if I may, you read my mind, my friend. WMC President and CEO Kurt Bauer said this. As Governor Evers said in his remarks to our members, even if we can train everyone in Wisconsin for the careers we have available, there still will not be enough people to fill the open jobs. According to WMC's most recent survey of Wisconsin CEOs, 4 out of every 5 companies in the state are struggling to find workers. We need the business community and government to work together on this issue, and that starts with a robust talent attraction campaign. Now, Matt, perhaps that could also start with raising wages. I mean, if you're having trouble, what about supply and demand? About what doesn't WMC understand? If there's big demand, you got to raise the wages. You'll get some workers, right?
Correct. And Evers did mention, family supporting wages, but he didn't mention the fact that Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce has been undercutting any effort to raise wages to a family supporting level in Wisconsin. That was kind of the parallel universe that I was in when I was trying to watch him give this speech. And, how do you attract people? He also said we need to protect our natural resources. Well, he's talking to a group here that's been, supporting Foxconn, supporting frac sand mining, supporting the destruction of our wetlands. I mean, what's he talking about?
If the Foxconn deal was not specifically mentioned, Matt, did the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation get a mention?
No WEDC. Not a word, not those 4-letter words.
So, but the WEDC is our foray into private business and economic development and job creation, right? That's what the state right now uses. We don't have a Chamber of Commerce anymore. We have WEDC. And this is the government's way to engage with the private sector for all of these lofty goals that everybody has, and the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation was not mentioned.
No, there was no WEDC there, and no mention of what the priorities are for WEDC. It was just disappointing in so many ways. The one thing that was good about was his saying we need to embrace diversity and inclusion. But for WMC, that's the easy thing. They can have a diverse workforce, and a lot of them dependent on it already. Look at every dairy farm and every restaurant in the state of Wisconsin. They all depend on a diverse workforce. I mean, who are we kidding? That's the easy thing. The hard thing is paying your people well. The hard thing is doing things that are okay for the consumer and okay for the environment, which, WMC, for instance, even tried to sabotage an effort by Republican Senator Rob Coles to take the lead out of the pipes, the water pipes that lead to people's homes.
Well, lead's good for you, isn't it, Matt?
A little lead, yeah. Pass the lead, please.
Oh, no.
Thank you, Matt Rothschild, our good friend, Executive Director, Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. His commentary published today. Evers bows to WMC. Matt, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Take care, guys.
Thank you, Matt.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. Your time to respond is right now. 844-967-2789 Devil's Advocates. We'll be burning up the phone lines on the other side.
Foxconn, el mejor trato en la historia de Estados Unidos.
Hey, well, you're going to have to take me to dinner first.
Wasn't true. It was a Scott Walker, a Scott P. Walker. I'm Scott Kevin Walker.
I think the criticism will be dissipated as we move forward.
Problems with your commercial building? Looking to build out? Bachman Construction is your one-stop full-service design-build contractor. From office space to restaurants, production warehouse space, and everything in between, our staff is experienced in a variety of small business projects. At Bachman Construction, we work to exceed your expectations, never cut corners. Bachman provides your project with quality construction throughout, regardless the size. Contact Bachman Construction and let us know how we can create a better value for your space today.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Hi, I'm Kelly, and my family owns Madison Liquidators, a company with sustainability as our business model. We are excited to announce that we are moving into a bigger, nicer location, allowing us to serve you better with expanded inventories of both new and used office furniture. Right now, we will give you a great deal because we would much rather move any of our current inventory into your office than our new space. Check out our complete inventory online at madisonliquidators.com or come make a deal off Pleasant View Road in Middleton before moving day.
Five9, your local single-source IT solutions provider. Specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy Five9s.com.
Hey guys, I'm Maggie Dawn, your lady lawyer, legal eagle, and sensei of economics. Tune into my show, Dawn of the Resistance, live Thursdays and Fridays from 6 to 7 on WRRD 1510 AM. Always streaming live at newstalk1510am.com.
Ass, grass, or cash, nobody rides for free. Dom and Crute are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. We stream on YouTube and Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio, and the political party line. Toll-free talk or text 844-967-2789.
Dom, let's go to the phones. I got a little wanker bashing to do.
Pizza Box, Mike, you are up. Thanks for calling today, my friend. What do you got for us?
Hey, Michael.
Back-to-back mats. Yeah, I'm just sitting here on my couch enjoying every minute of the last, 40 minutes or whatever I've been listening to. You guys, I didn't know, you didn't know that Evers was a moderate Republican?
Do tell, Pizza Box.
Well, no, I mean, I said that a long time ago. I mean, even basically before he got elected. Don't people pay attention to anything about people running in elections? I mean, right now, the world needs to be changed, and I keep referring to this, hard left and don't look back. But people just want to resist that. That's the direction we need to go in, and we need to take charge of this state. So, yeah, I mean, what do we call those guys? Wisconsin's Economic Disaster Corporation or whatever. And
Walker's Weedick.
Weapons of mass corruption. Which is exactly what they are. I mean, I remember when we protested down there, these guys looking out their windows, mocking us and stuff. But when we waited out back for them to get in their cars one day, they got a little bit nervous. So maybe it's time to start doing things like that, because we weren't even, angry or anything. We're just there grouped up. I'm telling you, man, we got to shut stuff down. And we're not going to be able to just vote our way out of this. I mean, it's taken a long time to get here, so the longer we wait, the longer it takes to get out of this. But we really need to rise up in this state, country, world, whatever. I don't like I said, you just listen to back-to-back Nats, and I'm sure a lot of people's brains could get fried by listening to that. But for me, it just feeds my my spirit.
Pizza Box Mike, what if? It's a big what if, but what if we see a blue wave in the presidential next year, and what if Tony got one, and God willing, both houses back? Do you think perhaps he would govern as a progressive at that point?
Absolutely not. People are who they are, no matter what no matter what people think. I mean, I really liked President Obama as a person, but as a president, he didn't go hard enough. And I know there's a lot of reasons why he probably didn't, which brings us back to us again, man. We got to do this. I mean, with all the stuff that's going on environmentally, I mean, we've seen it in Wisconsin, but Trump's going to do it to the whole damn country.
But Mike, you got to engage through the political process. I mean, you start a riot in the street right now, you're going to get run over, right? So how it's one thing to protest and to let your thoughts be known. It's another thing to organize politically and have an impact. I mean, look at what the cards are stacked against the Dems in the state of Wisconsin right now. Gerrymandering is a bitch, right? And we actually have the Republicans right now perhaps trying to do a workaround to continue the gerrymander for another decade. It's one thing to talk about on the radio, Mike, but what practical applicable action can we take as citizens to have an impact on moving perhaps more left than what Evers would aspire to?
Hong Kong.
The yellow vests in Paris?
Whatever, man. Just show up. That's what it takes. These guys are fighting for their future in Hong Kong. They know what's going on. Everybody knows what's going on in the world, right? We're trying to survive. I mean, it isn't just about beating Trump. Everybody wants to make it that. I know the media loves that. And then they want to pick, somebody on the other side that isn't going to go too far left, because too far left is like, sane. It's about taking care of the environment and regulations that have been destroyed by, basically both parties when they decided to go corporate on us. I mean, it's the only way we're going to win this is to go hard left. That's how we won the Congress, okay? You're going to have to do the same thing in Wisconsin. I mean, if I go up north and start talking to people about clean water and things like that and issues about, hey, who are we going to invest in? Are we going to invest in these billionaires, or are we going to invest in small businesses? There's all kinds of ways we can take the money back that they've stolen from us to rebuild ourselves into communities again. That's what we got to do. We're running out of time, though. Elections aren't the only thing that we need to do. We need to get involved, and we need to shut stuff down, man. You got to shut it down.
Michael, Pizza Box Mike, Tony Evers met with Republican leaders. My understanding, the topic, gun control. How do you think it went for the governor?
Well, listen, this country has gone crazy. So you're gonna have a lot of people that are gonna try and say, well, people have a right for this and people have a right for that. Basically, I think children have a right to go places without having to worry about some psycho shooting them. So guns are the problem, all right? And the people behind it and the people that support it and all your reasons for it, it's always safer when there aren't guns in people's hands. Just look at every other country.
All right, Pizza Box, appreciate it, man. 844-967-2789. Just one note. You notice those protests in Hong Kong, and there's even some protesters in Russia, apparently. And where's the U.S.? The beacon of freedom and democracy. Well, Trump says, I hope everything works out for everyone, especially China. Where are we? Where are we, the shining beacon on the hill, or are we just ruled by another group of oligarchs like Russia and China? You got something, Crudy? Wisco Paul, you're up. Thanks for calling today. What do you got?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Devils. Hey, I'm glad Scott Hole is gone. I mean, that is a good thing.
Yes.
He's out of the governor's office, and that's a great thing. But Tony's going to get blamed for everything, including the roads and his registration taxes. We talked about that in the beginning of the week.
I saw a conservative who I'm friends with on social media talking about the increase in the taxes effectively through the registration fees and how it's all Tony's fault. And conservative after conservative, certainly they're going to blame the Dems for something, right? but they are completely and uniformly blaming Tony Evers for the increase in the registration fees.
That is correct. It's already happening on radio. I heard it the other day. And, I don't know why Tony wants to be so nice to the GOP. To my knowledge, the GOP, have they even okayed all his cabinet members yet?
No, they've not confirmed any of his cabinet. No, because then they could challenge and remove someone from his cabinet, or at least they could challenge the legitimacy, fail to confirm, and put Tony in a hell of a bind at some point in the future. They're saving that malfeasance for a rainy day, Paul.
Yeah, they got a lot of it, Paul. Thanks for the call, 844-967-2789. Chris from Sun Prairie, you're next. Happy Hump Day, Chris. What do you got?
Hi.
Hey.
Well, I'm kind of disappointed. What Matt was saying, I'm glad he's pointing it out.
Which
I really
Matt?
think that Matt Rothschild. I don't think he should give Tony Evers a pass on supporting the WMC. I think they're evil. And I'm disappointed with the way things went after we had the 60-mile march for the schools. And I just don't think he's fighting as much as he needs to. I understand he's a Republican-controlled legislature, but I think we need more fight there. And I guess we are going to have to hold our electeds accountable. And we need to start calling and talking to our elected officials and telling them that, we're not happy with this. I had also read that Gordon Hintz is saying that we don't have a chance of taking a majority in the legislature, and I think it's.
I didn't make that up, right, Chris? You saw that as well?
I did see that, and I think it's a mistake. And here's why I think it's a mistake. I think that we should be running candidates in every single Republican district that there is. And what we should be running on is fair maps. And what we should be talking about is how the state has been gerrymandered and how democracy has been taken away from the state of Wisconsin because these Republican legislatures have ensured their own employment by gerrymandering their districts. And I think that people will get that. I think people will understand it. And I really think that it is the vehicle to remove some of them, even if they're removed by other Republicans that might at least believe in democracy. My problem is that I just think that this group is just going to march lockstep. Look, they had to sign confidentiality documents when this redistricting was done. There's something wrong when legislators have to, make pledges like that and constituents don't know about it,
Chris, I don't know if you had seen our friend, State Rep Jimmy Anderson. He's a fine Dem. He's also wheelchair confined, and he's been having some conflict with the speaker. And apparently his Democratic colleagues got together and wrote a letter on his behalf. And not a single Republican joined in that letter requesting that Speaker Voss accommodate his disability. Not a single Republican would stand with Jimmy Anderson today.
Yeah, it's a disgrace. And I think that they have lost any individuality. I think that they just walk lockstep with their leadership. And their leadership does not have the best interests of the state of Wisconsin in their hearts. They are out to, exploit the state. I mean, just look at what they've done.
Self-enrichment.
Check.
And incumbency.
Check.
And gerrymandering forever, baby. Come back with us. We have the Devil's Advocates turning towards the happy hour. More of your phone calls. 844-967-2789.
If you missed something on the Devil's Advocates, don't worry. After you get over your shame, you can check out DomandCroot.com. Podcasts and interviews updated daily.
Amalgamated Transit Union Local 998 is made up of the drivers and mechanics, professionals in Milwaukee. We keep the buses running all night long and all over the city. I'm one of them. After more than 20 years, I have seen it all, from bad drivers to hostile passengers. Just last week, one of my coworkers had a gun pulled on her. Enough is enough. We get Milwaukee to work. We get them home again. Our working conditions are your safety conditions, and we need help to provide improved safety and security for drivers and passengers. Call Chris Aberly at 414-278-4338 and tell him to stand with ATU 998. Make safety and a fair contract a priority.
This message paid for by ATU Local 998.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Philly police standoff, Dow's dive. I'm Barbara Cusack. A swarm of police has encircled a neighborhood in North Philadelphia where officers say they were fired on by at least one gunman. Correspondent Evan Perez says several officers were shot and one is in critical condition with a gunshot wound to the head.
Police are crouched behind shields, they're crouched behind cars, and police are still describing this as very much an active incident. The police are saying that at least one, possibly more than one suspects opened fire on police officers.
A lockdown was put into effect at Temple University Hospital. The Dow dived 800 points on warning of a looming recession. Correspondent Christina Leshy has more on Wall Street's reaction.
This is investors sending a very clear signal to President Trump that they do not like his ill-planned and so far fruitless trade war, and they are fleeing these risky assets, fleeing stocks, looking for cover in other parts of the market, like the bond market.
GOP Congressman Steve King defended his call for a ban on all abortions by questioning whether there would be any population of the world left if not for births due to rape and incest. Democratic presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg offered this response.
You would think it would be pretty easy to come out against rape and incest. Then again, you'd think it'd be pretty easy to come out against white nationalism.
Correspondent Jessica Snyder reports an 18-year-old Ohio man, Justin Olson, has been arrested over his social media posts.
They found multiple posts promoting mass shootings and promoting ambushing federal agents. And authorities really grew very concerned when they saw Olson's number of followers grow to more than 4,000. And when they started seeing posts just like this, it said, "Don't comply with gun laws, stock up on stuff that they could ban. In fact, go out of your way to break these laws."
Facebook has paid contractors to transcribe audio clips from users of its Messenger service, raising privacy concerns. I'm Barbara Cusack.
Got unwanted pests in your home or business? Call Get Rid Pest Control at 414-368-0696. State licensed and certified with over 20 years experience, Get Rid Pest Control guarantees their work in the removal of common household pests, including mice, rats, ants, roaches, spiders, centipedes, and bedbugs. Humane trapping and removal of larger pests as well. Unmarked vehicles available upon request. 24-hour emergency service available. Call Get Rid Pest Control today for your free estimate. 414-368-0696. If you got it, we'll get it.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
Of LGBT YouTubers are suing the platform over what it claims are conflicting and discriminatory practices.
The lawsuit claims YouTube and its parent company Google unfairly designates LGBT content as shocking and or offensive and sexually explicit, even though there may be none of that kind of content in the videos produced. Plaintiff Celso Dulé alleges in a video produced by the plaintiffs about the lawsuit, the videos are censored, blocked,
and they refused us advertising because of the gay thing.
That's a reference to an alleged comment by a senior YouTube content curator. The plaintiffs charge at the same time YouTube allows hate speech against the LGBT community. We reached out to YouTube for comment but have not yet heard back. Jim Roop, Los Angeles.
Reality TV stars Todd and Julie Chrisley pleaded not guilty to tax evasion and other federal charges. The Chrisley Knows Best stars entered the pleas at an initial court appearance today. I'm Barbara Cusack.
We have to.
If you're like a lot of companies, you know you need IT, but you aren't sure where to start. That's where Five9 comes in. Hi, I'm Todd Stryker, President and CEO. For almost 15 years, Five9 has been providing IT solutions to companies just like yours. We'll show you the solutions that are right for your business and give you the roadmap to success in the future. Find us at five9s.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Democratic National Committee Chairman Tom Perez, I got to ask you, in what percentage did the fact that Real Resistance Radio, WRD 1510, the fact that you can come after bar with us on Brady Street, Tom, how much did that factor into the site selection of Milwaukee, sir?
There's that old saying, what's good for General Motors is good for America. What's good for Resistance Radio is good for Wisconsin and good for America. So it was huge.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Despite 3 mass shootings in Ohio, Texas, and California in the past couple weeks, Wisconsin's Republican lawmakers continue to dodge questions about gun legislation. Many of the Republicans have tried to avoid questions by journalists in the past few days. Yesterday, Representative Paul Tittle of Manitowoc was asked by reporters about expanding background checks. He responded by saying, quote, "That's not what we're here to talk about today." A Marquette University Law School poll last year showed that 80% of Wisconsin voters supported increased background checks. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison. Tonight, mostly cloudy with lows around 63 in Milwaukee, 58 in Madison. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN, Wisconsin's political talk.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into the Hump Day Happy Hour.
Woohoo!
You're halfway home, buddy.
We are over halfway home, man.
Excellent, excellent. And we will take your calls in this fine hour, 844-967-2789. But, Dom, we haven't had an episode for a couple weeks, mostly because I've been gone, first Detroit, and then Door County. Of what's Wanker tweeting?
Oh, the world is wondering.
The world, you need wondered no more. I've got a few of Wanker's tweets. Here's one I find quite interesting, Dom. His most recent, 25 minutes ago. Hashtag Freedom for Hong Kong. And it's a hashtag on a retweet of a Marco Rubio tweet, actions of the Chinese government against Hong Kong, a cautionary lesson for anyone thinking about a deal with them. Now, is Rubio warning about Foxconn?
Good point. I'm not clear.
And above and beyond that, what's happening in Hong Kong? Of course, the police, the state, cracking down on the protesters. Much like Scott Walker did through unconstitutional arrest at the Wisconsin State Capitol beginning in July of 2013, Dom. We know. We were there. We got arrested and got the T-shirt.
It's almost like the Walker administration back then was acting very fascist, like, the communists are known to do.
You would think.
Seems like a fair comparison.
We are 3-0 in the courts against the Walker administration. I would remind people. Undefeated. Still the champs. Here's another one. Wanker tweeting out. This one 28 minutes ago. Congratulations to the newest member of the Wisconsin Supreme Court, at Judge Hagedorn. I was proud to appoint him to the Court of Appeals and pleased with his work as our chief legal counsel.
Just says it all right there, isn't it?
That helped to draft the bomb. Act 10, right? And I would point
Hagedorn,
out,
yes.
Breaking news here in the state of Wisconsin, although not unexpected as far as I was concerned, a new effort to overturn Act 10 through a federal lawsuit led by a couple of unions. Well, that effort failed. Josh Kaul, the Attorney General, apparently defending the state, said, and I'm paraphrasing here, you can sue on this topic again if you want to, but you can't You can't reopen the dead case. And Edelman apparently held up the logic of the state's attorney general, finding himself in a weird position defending Act 10, or at least defending the fact that the prior Act 10 case is closed. Go file a new lawsuit, apparently the ruling today.
Well, come on. Doesn't Call get how this political AG thing, justice, is supposed to work?
Not yet.
All right, well, maybe he'll learn. He's new on the job.
He doesn't understand the concept of open for business, apparently, Dom. Here's a little bit more, and here's really what I wanted to get to. Scott Walker tweeted out about an hour ago, according to Twitter. And here's a quote from Walker's Twitter stream. Here's a pull quote from Scott Walker's piece. If the 2020 presidential election is about pocketbook issues, logic suggests that Mr. Trump should win in a landslide. That explains why Democrats don't want to talk about the economy. Well, we led today with the economy, Dom. I would point out, if he tweeted this about an hour ago, he did so after the markets dropped 800 points.
So if he was paying attention to the news cycle, he would have known that the market dropped as much as it did, 3% today.
But he was so self-aggrandizing, so self-impressed that he got quoted on Rush Limbaugh's show.
Ooh, making the big time.
Now, I pointed out some of the things Rush Limbaugh said today. Well, apparently, Dom, according to the website at Rush Limbaugh, I suspect a staffer writes this, Scott Walker was the impetus of the conversation. You know, as I told you, Rush is blaming the lefties that run the markets trying to get Trump.
Don't forget Europe.
Let me read from rushlimbaugh.com. Scott Walker has a piece today, the former governor of Wisconsin, in the Washington Times, acknowledging Trump's robust economy. Let me ask you, changing subjects here, do you remember back, and listen closely, this is Rush.
So this is a transcribed Rush on-air conversation.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I'm not entirely clear. It's either written post-interview or it's a transcription of the interview. And I think it's just a monologue. But he references Scott Walker, so, you know,
so
I got a shout out.
All right.
Retweet. Anyways, here's what Rush apparently said. Let me ask you, changing subjects here. Do you remember back in the George W. Bush days? I'm sure you do. Once I remind you of this, you remember the left was screaming nonstop that we needed to become energy independent so that we didn't have to go to war to keep the lights on. So we didn't have to go to war for oil. Remember that? No blood for oil. The Iraq War, the war on terror, the Democrats demanding that we become energy independent. Yes, I do, Rush. I read on. We had to stop depending on the Saudis. We had to stop depending on whoever else was getting us oil. Well, guess what? The Democrats no longer have that issue. We are now the world's largest independent producer of energy. Dom, Rush very proud to tell us we're burning up the globe better than anybody. I read on from this apparently transcript. We're not dependent on anybody for energy, and we didn't have to go to war to do it. We just had to get the left out of the way. We had to get the environmental wackos out of the way. We had to authorize and promote fracking and pipelines and any number of other things that made economic sense. And now we are the world's largest producer of oil. The Democrats have lost another issue. Now Trump is in Pennsylvania today. That was yesterday. Monica, Pennsylvania. He's visiting the Shell Pennsylvania Petrochemicals Complex, still under construction, much like Foxconn. The plant's purpose is going to be to convert natural gas into plastic pellets for manufacturing. And the president will deliver a speech on America's energy dominance and the manufacturing revival in a state that he won in 2016. The Democrats have totally lost this issue. And here's a pull quote from Scott Walker's piece.
Ooh, get to it now.
If the 2020 presidential election is about pocketbook issues, logic suggests that Mr. Trump should win in a landslide. That explains why Democrats don't want to talk about the economy. And Rush goes on to say, and they don't to the extent that they talk about the economy in their debates. It's to lie about it and misstate things, mischaracterize things, and clearly in ways that they don't understand.
Clearly.
But you see, most media outlets are complicit with the Democrats. Not only do they forcibly avoid talking about the strong economy, they consistently get the facts wrong. So we have a strong economy. By the way, I need to remind you, I interviewed Larry Kudlow on Friday's program for the next issue of the Limbaugh Letter. And man, is it good. It's informative. It's upbeat. It's optimistic. Apparently, he turned into full ad mode at that point. I can't wait till his interview gets published in the next interview of the Limbaugh Letter. It's coming soon. I'll let you know when it gets out. He was terrific. He was enlightening. I asked him just the basic questions about the strength of the dollar, why it's bad, why it's good, Federal Reserve rate cuts, all that stuff, state of the economy. Now, I'm going to stop here. That was yesterday. Because really, Dom, I want to get to the Scott Walker piece. Back to the wanker bashing. The Washington Times, big eagle on a soaring upward economy. You know, the arrow up with a freedom eagle on the top.
Whoa, yes.
Tops the Washington Times.
The pinnacle of the chart.
The op-ed piece submitted by Scott Walker just a few short days ago, acknowledging Trump's robust economy. Democrats won't say so, but the evidence is there. Yeah, I just looked at the markets just a minute ago. Scott Walker, you're absolutely right. Here's how he begins. The economy, stupid. Clinton strategist James Carville. In 1992, the economy was bad. James Carville's quote on a sign in the campaign offices of Governor Bill Clinton was a reminder to his staff. He wanted them to stay focused on the economy. It worked for the challenger as a recession was starting to sweep the nation. President George H.W. Bush's inability to adequately react to concerns over the recession played a major part in his loss that November. This week, economist Douglas Holtz-Eakin said Democrats are not talking about the economy because they have nothing to say. In 2019, according to Scott Walker at the Washington Times, the economy is great. The U.S. labor market has added more than 6.3 million new jobs since Trump was elected. In fact, there continue to be more jobs open in America than there are people looking for work. Unemployment is the lowest it's been since the end of 1969, and the unemployment rate for African Americans, Hispanics, people with disabilities, and military veterans is the lowest ever recorded for each category. He's very proud of his president, right?
Yes, very proud.
At the same time, wages are up. The Bureau of Economic Analysis recently published its annual revisions to personal income data showing that employee compensation rose 4.5% in 2017, 5% in 2018. The trend continued. He's such a dynamic writer. In 2019, as compensation rose 3.4%. That seems like a slowing to me, Dom.
Does compensation include all like the benefit package and all those kinds of things? I'm just saying, because if you have like increase in healthcare expenditures and your company picks up the difference, its coverage, you've technically gotten a higher benefit package, compensation package, although you have not maybe had any more disposable income.
Well, I know I wasted your and the audience's time with Scott Walker statistics, but let me get to the heart of the matter.
Oh, God, please.
Indicator after indicator point to a strong economy, which explains why Democrats don't want to talk about the economy. They want the media and, in turn, the electorate to focus on other issues. Not like the frickin' racist president, but I read on. When was the last time you heard about the president's tax cuts? And if you did, it was probably a bad story.
Well, yeah, we're running trillion-dollar deficits during this great economic time of which you write.
Scott Walker was literally tweeting out about that today, and that's the reason we need a balanced budget amendment, because D.C. doesn't care. Total disconnect from his president that he supports and the deficits being run by his president.
And the tax cuts he's referencing specifically in this piece.
Well, he's bragging about them, but we don't talk about them enough, Dom. But let me give you the facts. According to the Wankonator, the facts, however, show a huge majority of Americans received a tax cut. According to the Tax Policy Center, 82% of middle-class earners received a tax cut averaging around $1,050. That wouldn't even get you an inside cabin on a Scott Walker cruise, would it, Tom?
Not even close.
You'd need like 4 times that much. I read on from the Wankonator's piece at the Washington Times. Despite Nancy Pelosi's comments that the tax cuts were crumbs, $1,000 more in take-home pay is a big deal for most families in our country. Facts show that the middle-class taxpayers were the big winners in the tax cut plan signed by Mr. Trump. Democrats, however, did a good job of selling A false narrative. Sadly, most Americans now believe they did not receive a reduction in their tax bill, despite the negative rhetoric, the individual income tax cuts that increased take-home pay and the business tax cuts that encouraged employers to provide bonuses.
Yeah.
You know, there's like 3 companies, Dom, have helped to improve the nation's economy through the affirmative efforts to undo excessive regulations, particularly in energy, clean coal. And you have a recipe for strong economic growth for years to come. And then he goes on to bash the Dems, Dom. Should we do more of this? You want to?
I think they're just stupid. I think they're idiots.
I tell you what, let's take a little break. Perhaps we'll come back. More of Wanker laying out the facts of the strong, robust economy, down by over 800 points today.
All right, I'll give you a few more minutes.
An inverted yield curve, which
Yes.
is a leading indicator of a recession on the horizon. But please, a couple more minutes.
I'll give you a couple more minutes to finish up whatever the hell he's babbling about, because I have a couple of points I would like to
Got to get to
retort.
socialism at some point
Yeah,
soon.
Well, AOC.
Bernie and Elizabeth Warren. Maybe there's some AOC in there.
Oh, there's always some AOC. It's Scott Walker. He loves/hates AOC.
No way he hates her. She graduated college with the economics degree.
Oh, what?
Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates, more Walker bashing. I promise.
I used to run track.
Just let them burn their eyes on you.
It's bad. It's so bad. There's blood everywhere.
Our economy's on fire.
Oh my God, we're burning alive!
Freedom.
It's so bad!
I want to thank God for his abundant grace. Having a great time.
Our friends over at Madison Liquidators are expanding into a bigger, nicer space just off Pleasant View Road in Middleton to better serve their clients and better display their extensive collection of new and nicer used office furniture. Start online at MadisonLiquidators.com for their complete collection, or go see Kelly to help make your own office plan. MadisonLiquidators.com. Tell them you heard them on Talk 92.7 FM.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
Go back to where they came from, help those people come back and show us how to do it. That was the full quote.
They didn't come from anywhere. They were here, dude. Are you employed, Chris?
I am.
Do you have an HR department?
Yes, I do. I'm a union machinist.
Oh, do you work with minorities?
I do.
If you walked up to one of your coworkers who was a minority, you told them to go back to where they came from, would HR have a conversation with you about that, do you think?
It depends on the person, really. I mean, some people are...
If somebody complained to HR about what you said, do you think they would have a conversation with you about that? Okay.
Absolutely.
But why? Why would they pull you off of your job to discuss this with you, and what do you think their beef would be?
Because they're trying to protect the corporation from lawsuits.
Lawsuit for what?
Discrimination, racism.
So if your coworkers, if you say it to your coworker, it could be described as discrimination or racism. But when the president says it to the world, it's not racist?
No. Yikes.
Five9, your local single-source IT solutions provider. Specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy five9s.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
Our economy's on fire.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube and Facebook. Got a new camera we're playing with. Why don't you go check that out, the Devil's Advocates radio on Facebook. We are on Twitter at Devil Radio and the political party line. Toll free, talk or text 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I was talking about the former governor of the state of Wisconsin, failed presidential candidate, college dropout, Scotty Wanker Walker.
And don't forget Rush Limbaugh. They were, quoting each other?
Well, Rush Limbaugh apparently quoted Scott Walker. Scott Walker very proud in the midst of an 800-point precipitous drop in the Dow Jones Industrial Average after the inversion of the yield curve after Trump's blinking on the Chinese trade war. And Scott Walker, of course, retweeting, rush quoting his fluff piece about the great state of the Trump economy.
Just because he says it doesn't make it true.
I'm going to read on from the Times. In contrast, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Massachusetts Democrat, recently warned that an economic crisis will soon hit the United States. Maybe she has a crystal ball and can see into the future to a day when she or one of the other radical socialists is elected president. That would most certainly be a reason for concern. Miss Warren, Senator Bernie Sanders, Vermont Independent, and the rest of the socialists running for president continue to embrace a system that's currently failing in Venezuela. It's all about Venezuela, baby. Socialism promises prosperity, but more often leads to poverty. The once prosperous country is now filled with despair. Sadly, more than 9 out of every 10 Venezuelan now live in poverty. Let's see what else he has to say. If the 2020 presidential election is about pocketbook issues, logic suggests that Mr. Trump should win in a landslide. That explains why Democrats don't want to talk about the economy. Unfortunately, most media outlets are complicit with the Dems. Not like the devil's advocates, those guys. Not only do they forcibly avoid talking about the strong economy, what's that mean, duct tape over the mouth? They constantly get the facts wrong. Casey Hunt's recent statement on MSNBC is a prime example. Miss Hunt teased the story, saying, still to come, Joe Biden references his relationship with 2 former Republican colleagues at an event in New York City. The only problem, they were both segregationists. How dare she get it wrong, Dom? They were Democrats, don't you know?
All right, that's
okay,
enough.
I can be done.
Oh my God, that's not Walker bashing. That's saying the dumbass things Walker wrote in the Washington Times as part of his gig economy deal.
The bashing, it's interspersed.
All right, well, let's do one thing.
Wait,
let's talk
can I
about
give you the bottom line?
Oh my God, please.
The bottom line?
The bottom?
Scott Walker's bottom line. Where is it? The bottom line, the American economy is doing very well and wages are up, but we cannot rely on the media or anyone else to share this message with the general public. We need to share it ourselves. There's too much at stake in 2020 election not to share the good news of the strong economy with anyone who will listen between now and next November.
Nobody should listen to Scott Walker. The man who decries socialism literally shepherded through, for political reasons, the biggest socialist corporate giveaway in American history to $4.5 billion to Foxconn. That's socialism. You cannot trust a word this man says.
Well, he'd prefer to give manufacturing interests a 0% tax break and then give away $4.5 billion to the foreign corporation, from the China. Well, I guess that's technically Taiwan. Where's Hong Kong at?
Scott Walker, tweeted out by Rush Limbaugh, retweeted by Scott Walker, talking about socialism and the economy is the worst possible messenger on this day, given the markets, given the Foxconn, and given what we know about socialism in America.
Okay, man, you take your best shot.
I
Coming
got
back
it.
next,
I
Dom's
got it.
got this. More Devil's Advocates on the other side.
Want to be more presidential? Tweet the Devil's Advocates at Devil Radio.
What do you think of these online reports that say you had a love child in college?
I'm going to be dating her in 10 years.
Now go home and get your f***ing shine box.
Businesses today thrive and survive with technology. At Five Nines, we provide businesses with the IT tools they need to stay relevant. We offer enterprise-level solutions at competitive prices. I'm Todd Stryker, President and CEO of Five Nines. Let us manage your IT so you can focus on more important things, like running your business. Check us out at fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Political Talk on News Talk 1510 a.m. Start your weekday off with the Earl Ingram Show from 7 to 9 a.m. Next, it's The Forum with Sherwin Hughes from 9 to noon. Then from 12 till 2, it's the Tom Hartman Program. At 2 o'clock, it's Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman. Then from 3 to 6, it's the Devil's Advocates. At 6, it's Jocasta Zamaripa, Maggie Dawn, and Unheard Of with Brandy Grayson. Wisconsin's Political Talk. Listen online at newstalk1510am.com.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Hey guys, this is Maggie Dawn, host of Dawn of the Resistance, live Thursdays and Fridays from 6 to 7 p.m. Starting August 22nd, I'm going to be joined in studio with Dr. Fran Kaplan and Reggie Jackson, Executive Director of America's Black Holocaust Museum, to do 6 shows about race in America. On August 22nd and 23rd, we're going to talk about the history you never learned, facts about race in America. On August 29th and 30th, we're going to talk about why we think the way we do, unpacking implicit bias. Last, on September 5th and 6th, we're going to talk about why what we say and what we do matters. Getting woke, staying woke, and doing woke things. So white folks, you got questions you've never asked? Write them down, tune in, and call in starting August 22nd through September 6th on Dawn of the Resistance on WRRD 1510 AM, always streaming live at newstalk1510am.com.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. You know, in the 7 years that Crudy and I have been doing the show, we have never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now, advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Real Resistance Radio. Market your products or services, get your message out, join the resistance. Call us at 414-635-0872. That's 414-635-0872, or go to realresistanceradio.com.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Employees at Milwaukee's VA Medical Center say a new contract proposed by the Department of Veterans Affairs is unfair. Yesterday, a small group of them protested the contract on a sidewalk near the medical center. The new contract would strip away protections for whistleblowers and employees with disabilities and eliminate child care programs and requests to work from home. American Federation of Government Employees Vice President Dorothy James told the protesters that the contract is an effort to destroy unions by curtailing time that could be spent on union activities and eliminating third-party appeals of disciplinary actions. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN, Wisconsin's Political Talk.
The Devil's Advocates. Rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Happy hump day to us all. It is the happy hour. We're always a little happier when you help us carry this heavy load. At 844-967-2789.
Speak for yourself, man.
Man, you start mailing it in on like Tuesday. We're well beyond your point of concentration.
All right, we got to continue, and we'll get to your calls in just a moment. We have to continue the rebuttal of the Scott Walker op-ed in the WashingtonTimes.com.
Whatever.
Again, the constant decries of socialism, I think we have to, again, in knowing that Foxconn was in the state of Wisconsin today, had meetings apparently with the governor and the leaders on the Republican side, and no one's saying boo. Nobody has said what the deal is.
That probably portends of great news, right?
Right. They're trying to coordinate their message to have a big fireworks party and open bar to tell the state of Wisconsin how great this deal has now become?
Finally, Speaker Voss, Scott Fitzgerald, and Tony Evers coming together in a bipartisan fashion to basically stonewall the public on the current circumstance with Foxconn.
The deal originated and shepherded through by Scott Walker as a political tool, which he thought would help him get reelected. And that deal was this WEDC, which is using state money, call it, I don't know, socialism. So the guy is a pure hypocrite when it comes to it. I mean, I guess they're fine with socialism when it comes to giving the tax dollars to private industry. Maybe it's the socialism that gives tax dollars to other public entities.
We call that
for services.
Incentivizing and perks. Like those loans through WEDC that you just don't have to pay back when you're a Republican donor. Well, that's one of the perks of being the friend of the Walker administration.
So Walker went through and gave some statistics as to why he thinks things are so stellar right now. And I referenced this earlier today. I'm going to bring up just one paragraph.
Even his own statistics about increasing wage.
Yeah.
The greatest increase was in 2017. In 2018, it's declining. 2019, it's declining, which would seem to indicate that's, like the tail end
of the Obama administration.
Yes.
No, imagine that.
Just saying.
The government is expected to spend roughly $1 trillion more than it brings in through revenue this year, creating a ballooning deficit. Governor Walker, you had those here in the state of Wisconsin as well.
He tweeted against it today about the ballooning deficit. Not Trump's fault, DC's fault.
The tax cuts. They put
no one's saying
these tax cuts.
Enough good things about the tax cuts, Dom, which of course are creating the ballooning of the deficit. But he would blame that on the social safety net, Medicaid and Medicare.
Yeah, you see how it works? I'll continue because we'll get to those tax cuts. Again, from the Washington Post today. Not only is the deficit ballooning by more than $1 trillion, or roughly $1 trillion, business investment has begun to contract, largely due to the uncertainty surrounding President Trump's trade war, and manufacturing jobs have begun to slide. The big hiring and investment announcements that piled up at the beginning of the Trump administration have ceased, as have the announcements of bonuses and pay increases that came after a tax cut law was passed in 2017. Now, this is today rebutting, I would say, some of the items Walker specifically spoke about. And one other thing, Kudlow, right?
Cokehead Kudlow?
Cokehead Kudlow, also referenced by Rush Limbaugh today in conjunction
They got a fine interview. It'll be in the Limbaugh letter very soon.
Well, so thank you.
From March 14th of 2018 in the Washington Post, Dana Milbank, I think this should be reminded. Kudlow has been spectacularly wrong, has never been as spectacularly wrong as he was before the signal economic event of our time. If you heeded Kudlow's advice in the months before the 2008 crash, you would have been ruined. Even as trouble became clear, Kudlow, a CNBC pundit who was not trained in economics, wrote a February 5th, 2008 column in National Review saying he was, quote, still betting on and buying Goldilocks, which is a just right scenario, for the long run. He's staying in the market. He's investing. He's continuing to spend. In February of 2008, now, the drama kind of started around December of 2007. So a couple months in, not even, maybe 6 weeks in, Kudlow's saying, oh, it's all good. I'm investing in Goldilocks for the long run. And he goes on to quote, maybe we're going to have a mild correction, maybe not. Adding, I'm not going to bet that the economy will be, adding, I'm going to bet that the economy will be rebounding sometime this summer, if not sooner. We're in a slow patch, that is all. It's nothing to get up in arms about. So drama starts in December of 2007 and 2008 in February. Beginning of the month, he comes out and says, it's all good. Move along, nothing to see here, writes Milbank. When the economy didn't rebound and housing continued its collapse, Kudlow pronounced in a CNBC column on July 24th of 2008 that he saw in the data an awful lot of very good news, which appeared to be pointing to a bottom of the housing problem. In fact, maybe the tiniest beginnings of a recovery.
Was he buying stock in Countrywide at the time?
Stocks lost nearly half their value in the coming months. So Kudlow being optimistic on Rush Limbaugh's letter and being bounded around by him and Scott Walker's op-ed telling everybody how great everything is. You got to understand, these guys have no credibility.
Don't believe the media. Just tell your friends about the good news.
Look it up. It's all right there. I mean, if the words of these gentlemen do not contradict their actions today, what does?
Scott Walker literally contradicts himself today. He retweets the Manhattan Institute. Here's what they tweeted. We're in an era of trillion-dollar budget deficits, which are forecast to exceed $2 trillion within a decade. Who's in charge? Trump. I would just remind people of that. Eventually, either the financial markets or a voter rebellion will force the brakes, but will Washington prove capable of reining in the deficit? And Scott Walker's response is a retweet, in all caps, of course, balanced budget amendment. Balanced budget amendment.
A constitutional amendment.
And I would point out one other guy who ballooned some deficits, Tom. It was 38 years ago yesterday that Ronald Reagan, hero to Scott Walker, basically began trickle-down economics for our nation. Or as Scott Walker observes, incorrectly, completely, there's complete fallacy. Let me preface this before I read it to you, because Scott Walker's just full of
But Scott Walker says you don't know the facts, Crudy, that the media is not giving these facts to the public, and therefore Scott Walker will be the one to break it to everyone.
Let me read the tweet aloud, and you and the audience, you be the judge.
Okay.
Just let me read it. Scott Walker tweeted a day ago, President Reagan signed the Economic Recovery Act of 1981 on this date 38 years ago. Prior to then, the top income tax rate was 70%. At that level, 7 out of every $10 were paid in federal taxes. No wonder the economy was a mess. We don't want to go back. Reagan literally had to go back and raise the taxes again after the Budget Recovery Act. You know, when he ballooned the deficit, tripled the national debt under Reagan, if I recall, his hero. And above and beyond that, he had a similar argument with what? AOC's grandma? Scott Walker claimed that when you tax people at a 70% clip, much like we did in this nation, right up until Reagan blew up the economy, well then, 7 out of every $10 grandma gives you, you got to give to the government. Or so Scott Walker would tweet and tell you.
Right.
And as AOC pointed out at the time, no, that's not how it works. After you earn $10 million, then 7 out of the next $10 would go to taxes.
As tax, marginal tax rates.
But I don't think Scott Walker understands that as a man who probably has been on the governmental teat since 1993.
Well, and isn't that the thing, though?
What qualifies him economically to give any advice about Bubkiss?
Right, dude.
In that the man's never been right on nearly any topic, not financially, not on his investments through WEDC, not on Foxconn, not on creating 250,000 jobs. What has Scott Walker been right about? Arresting you. Nothing else.
He was so wrong. 844-967-2789. It just baffles me that they get a platform that and people will believe that. I'm not. Listen, math is math, right? We can do math, and math does not lie. Some things you
can lie about doing math. Sure. You can misconstrue the numbers purposefully to give the impression that all lefties are socialists.
Or that you fixed a $3.6 billion budget deficit.
Or that you were going to create 250,000 jobs in one term and you were incapable of doing so in 8 years.
With both the Assembly and the State Senate control.
All the levers of power. Don't forget about the Supreme Court.
Oh, how could I possibly?
And all the allies you needed at Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce. They've been the beneficiaries of a 0.4%, effectively a zero tax rate. So where are the frickin' jobs?
Where are the manufacturing jobs?
I mean, I know he wants to blame the entire national recession on Jim Doyle. Jim Doyle's recession, right? Well, in the nearly a decade, Scott Walker had to fix it up again. Scott Walker had declining job creation in nearly every year. I think 34,000, 35,000 jobs, his peak. I'd point out Jim Doyle created that in his last year in office. And we were number 11 in the nation in new job creation under Doyle. I don't think we peaked ever above like 26 under Scott Walker. I think more often we were in the mid-30s, last or nearly last in the Midwest in every jobs report. And if you didn't like the gold standard anymore, well, Scott Walker would use his favorite BLS, and, most people wouldn't notice the revisions a month or 6 months later when you'd find out his administration completely lying about the jobs number for their own political expediency.
No, you think so?
Yes, I absolutely do. I think I could prove it mathematically.
People would do that?
Well, Scott Walker certainly would.
And yet here he is writing op-eds about how great the economy is. So I'm just saying, look at the man's track record and then believe it or don't. That's up to you, but I wouldn't. I'd be a little concerned if I were.
And if you're going to level socialist, of course, misconstruing what socialism is, but if you're going to level it at the Democratic presidential field, sure, maybe Bertie or Elizabeth Warren, but don't throw John Delaney in with the good ones.
But you have to accept the moniker. But Scott Walker must accept the moniker as well. Tell me what
failed governor?
No, socialist. Tell me what Foxconn is. This deal, if not a socialist deal.
Well, it was a bad deal made for political expediencies.
But he's using.
He's not a socialist. He's just freaking corrupt,
but
man.
How is he? What is the funding mechanism of the deal?
The public tax dollars. I get it. I'm just being contrarian. You often play that role on the radio.
844-967-2789. It just drives me crazy. Curtis from Dallas, you're up. Thanks for calling today, man. What do you got?
Hey, Curtis.
Hey, how you guys doing? You guys are killing me today, man. This is too much. The only thing that Scott Walker is good about is peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Doesn't he tweet about it all the time?
Ham and cheese
sandwiches,
on white.
See, look at that. Oh, my gosh, ham and cheese sandwiches. Well, he also talks about his peanut butter and jellies, too. Hey, my whole thing is that when the stock market plunges, then that's the only thing that the white man's going to freak out, because all the people down south have 401ks. They go, oh, my 401k is so great, so great. But when it plunges, that's when people are going to freak out. But as far as Walker goes, remember when Act 10 was going through, my sister was protesting in Madison, and Fox News put all these people out like they're in Florida, but actually was in Madison. Did you remember that?
Well, they put out a false video that included like some palm trees on the state capitol square.
Obviously not the right video.
May not exist there.
I'm pretty sure.
My sister went on about 400 palm trees and had everybody around there. So they put them on their shoulders and walked around with them. I don't remember that. That was pretty funny. But the whole thing about the bottom line is this Foxconn thing. It'd be nice if people would actually go to Madison and have signs up and protest and have Josh Call pull us out of there, like Matt Flynn said earlier.
But
we
Josh
need to get out
is,
of this.
but Curtis, Josh is not going to do that over the wishes of Governor Tony Evers. Really, he's the one that needs to be persuaded. And, we bring on guys like Matt Flynn, and, I don't want to be the one that Tony bashes all the time. But there are certain positions, Curtis, like let's kill Foxconn now. I mean, that's not me beating on Tony. That's me pointing logic in the face. We need to cut bait on Foxconn. Let's get out now, Tony. You probably solely have the power to withdraw the state of Wisconsin or direct the attorney general, but he's not going to do so. Not if Tony doesn't want him to.
But Josh Call is independently elected, right?
Yeah.
All right, so what's Tony going to do?
What's the last time an AG rolled out a lawsuit that the governor of the state of Wisconsin from his own party did not agree with?
I have no idea.
I don't think it's ever happened.
Well, how about now?
It's not going to happen.
Let's do it. Josh Call, what are you waiting on, man? What are you looking for? How about this? Let's find out what Foxconn told Evers and the Republicans today. Will someone please let us know what the hell is going on?
Retweet something.
Something somewhere? Instagram?
Somebody throw Dom a bone. More Devil's Advocates on the other side. I mean, have you dropped that pen like 9 times today, man?
Yeah, I know.
Come back with us. Join us on the phones. One short segment. Last opportunity to perhaps air your hump day grievances at 844-967-2789. We'll be right back with your calls.
I believe that I'm being called to lead by helping to clear the field in this race so that a positive, conservative message can rise to the top of the field.
Because I've been nice to Scott Walker. And, he's a nice guy. He came up to my office like 3-4 months ago, presented me with a plaque because I helped him with his election. I liked that he was fighting. At least I didn't know what the hell he was doing, but he was fighting, and I like a fight.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Freedom.
The Packing House, where you can experience the soulful dimensions of Joe Jordan and the Soul Trio every second and fourth Saturday of the month, where you can also enjoy live music 4 nights a week, Wednesday through Saturday, some of the best local talent around. It's never a cover charge. Schedule online at packinghousemke.com or give us a call at 414-483-5054. Great food, handcrafted cocktails across the street from the airport on Layton. Packing House, a family owned and operated since 1974.
Amalgamated Transit Union Local 998 is made up of the drivers and mechanics, professionals in Milwaukee. We keep the buses running all night long and all over the city. I'm one of them. After more than 20 years, I've seen it all, from bad drivers to hostile passengers. Just last week, one of my coworkers had a gun pulled on her. Enough is enough. We get Milwaukee to work. We get them home again. Our working conditions are your safety conditions, and we need help to provide improved safety and security for drivers and passengers. Call Chris Aberly at 414-278-4338 and tell him to stand with ATU 998. Make safety and a fair contract a priority.
This message paid for by ATU Local 998.
5 Nines, your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
Hey Milwaukee, I'm Sherwin Hughes, host of The Forum from 9 a.m. to noon on WRRD 1510 a.m. Always streaming live on newstalk1510am.com.
The Devil's Advocates. We drink when we toast. We toast when we drink.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Last segment of the day. If you got something to say, now is your opportunity. All callers, 844-967-2789. Crudy.
I know where you want to go, and I forgot. I had one.
Oh, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
That's really, really good as well. Scott Walker, the indebted failed presidential candidate, ended his presidential campaign ingloriously after 71 days, more than $1 million in debt. And subsequently, he settled for less than full balance with a number of the vendors, but he also made money selling email lists. And I got an email today, and I only signed up for one email list. I signed you up for the same one.
I don't get them, though.
Scott Walker's email list. Well, I've been on the list for longer. You were just a friend of Scott Walker's friend when I put you on the list. I think I got that bumper sticker.
A friend of mine versus a friend of ours.
The We Stand With Scott Walker bumper sticker that's on the table here. But I got this email. Defeat Ilhan Omar. Save America from Ilhan Omar. And then there's 2 pictures of her, and there's a crosshair across her head. And it says, stop them, learn the truth about Ilhan Omar. And so I got this solicitation on behalf of a Lancey Johnson, Republican candidate, Minnesota's 5th Congressional District. I just point out, African-American candidate in a striking white suit with pink shirt, no tie. But anyways, here's the point. Walker will sell your freaking name to anybody, man. I don't know who this yokel is.
Let me see that. But I did notice, I just scrolled down on this briefly.
I posted it on our Facebook.
Okay, you did good.
The Devil's Advocates Facebook. And I would like to note also, if you haven't liked us on Facebook, do so, please, at the Devil's Advocates Radio. We're up against another threshold now.
Crudy gauges his worth by how many likes we get.
And once we cross a threshold, then, of course, I'm seeking the next threshold to cross. But until that happens, I'm sort of surly. Like your normal temperament.
The quote on here I thought was revealing. Ilhan Omar hates America. Ilhan Omar hates Israel, hates Donald Trump, and worst of all, hates liberty-loving Americans like you.
Freedom.
I mean, really? This
does it say Americans or like Americans with
America, apostrophe America? I mean, this is it's disgusting. I mean, you're gonna go out there and say that another politician hates you.
Now it almost makes me regret ever joining Scott Walker's email list.
Almost.
How much money do you think the man's made on me selling my name up and down the river?
Well, yours. I mean, all
since
of
his failed presidential campaign and his inglorious defeat where Donald Trump stepped on him like a bug.
Remember when we followed that campaign down to Iowa for the...
Scott Walker was too big time to do the spin room. And
he was. And I got Trump.
And you got Trump from the front row, man. You were like 5 feet away, shook his hand.
He shook my hand.
Yeah, you keep saying that.
I don't know why you keep changing the story.
And Scott Walker, he's a big shot, told about, the protesters, the 100,000. And some of them threatened his wife, threatened to gut her like a deer, stem to stern. Although there is no proof that ever happened, except for the memory of his appointee, Chief Irwin. The only corroborating evidence of that. Now, we've went through a number of lies Scott Walker told, including in his book.
Was she a great big fat person?
But, somewhere deep down in his heart, he cried, he sobbed himself to sleep that night when he was defeated as a presidential candidate. I was at his very next public press conference. Didn't go to too many, but I went that day.
You were motivated.
And I asked the very last question of the press conference, and if you recall, I looked him in the eye and I said, Governor Walker, will you offer any sort of olive branch to your opponents, after coming back to the state of Wisconsin, or will it be more wreaking havoc, sir? And Scott Walker closed his eyes, and I could visibly see his eyes roll back in his head.
With his lids closed.
And then he slow opened his eyes, and he responded to everyone in the press, excepting myself. And then before he finished his sentence, I believe Matt, his body man, said, "We're not here." Shut him down.
Making friends and influencing people. Well, we went to the Freedom Summit.
Iowa Freedom Caucus.
Summit.
The
Summit.
Freedom Summit.
And who was the host?
Citizens United, Steve King.
Oh.
Talking about the immigrants with the cantaloupes for calf muscles because they've been carrying bales of marijuana across the border.
I thought they carried it in orifices, but I guess not. Steve King knew better. Yes.
Well, Steve King knows a little something about having something in your orifice.
Well, perhaps, but Steve King is quoted today.
Quickly, we're going to run out of time here for this.
On CNN, Republican Rep. Steve King of Iowa questioned on Wednesday whether there would be any population left on Earth if not for rape and incest.
Hey, Steve, I don't know if you're doing it right down there in Iowa.
What if we went back through all the family trees and just pulled out those people that were products of rape and incest? Would there be any population left of the world if we did that? He said, according to a video posted online by the Des Moines Register, which was first to report the remarks Wednesday. King goes on, considering all the wars and all the rape and pillage that has taken place, I know I can't certify that I was not a product of that, King said. I'd like to think that every one of the lives of us are as precious as any other life, he added.
I can confirm, Steve King, rep from Iowa, Republican. Yes, you are probably the result of incest.
Yes, I would guess so.
Very close cousins, I suspect.
The Peacocks.
Want to thank our fine guests today. They included Matt Flynn, former chairman of the Democratic Party, Matt Rothschild. He's Batman, executive director of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. And today is Wednesday Unheard Of with Brandy Grayson, live next 6 to 8 p.m. Stick around on these fine stations.
Wanker. Shut up, you little weasel.
Our economy's on fire.
I alone can fix it.
Because you're bastard people. That's what you are. You're just bastard people, and I'm going home and I'm gonna
get your f***ing shine box.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join